Part 62. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 612. As a high-speed battleship, the Veneto has certainly been leveled up since it was obtained in the game. Even though it was just through exercises, after all, I couldn't spare the resources and I wasn't interested in practicing specifically. Speaking of her being very strong, even if she doesn't become a powerful mafia boss, she certainly won't be unknown. However, there is no news. Regardless of hood and reputation, whether the Prince of Wales or Richelieu was also in the West or Missouri, it was all useless. There is no news about our Lolita sister, so we have no choice but to hack Veneto madly, and then start hacking Andrea. Andrea has a set of clothes from her childhood. Andrea should be at the level of an old lady from a historical perspective. The First World War ship. The battleships are all unreliable, but the Italian destroyers are really hard to find fault with. The strength is indeed not that good, at least no one in the game can be modified for the time being, but as a destroyer, it only needs to be cued. I remembered the pictures I had seen on the internet, they were super cute. I wonder what Antonio looks like holding the salted fish. Antonio, nicknamed Big Lolita, was given a free dress up on Children's Day in the game. He was a more pure girl than anyone else, but Sugu still liked the original Big Lolita. In terms of figure, the little devil Aviel should be everyone's sister. The little angel Camicia will lie on the ground and raise her butt to expose her underwear, and the little devil Aviel has a superb figure, second to none among the little Lolita. The black man is the most interesting. After finally finishing the conversation, he responded with a smile on his face. You can also see the smile tugging at the corner of his mouth from the famous face. Next to her, Hood won the Royal Oak, and she immediately jumped out of the way, not sure if she was afraid of losing. In short, her location was changed to Belfast, and Royal Oak on the other side didn't mind who her opponent was at all. The level is also poor, the luck is also bad, it doesn't matter if you keep losing, Royal Oak doesn't mind at all. Otaku girls often have good personalities, that's too extreme. At least the two otaku girls who guard the mansion have good personalities, and Beizai usually doesn't get angry at all. Hood sat down next to Sugu, sitting on the edge of the bed with his legs together, reaching out and stroking Ginger. Her sitting posture was dignified and her movements were graceful, returning to her former eldest lady appearance. Admiral, look, I said it was luckier than the Royal Oak she didn't forget to show off. Thinking of Hood and Royal Oak playing cards, it's not just about drawing cards and comparing their sizes, technology has many impacts. Even talking about technology, there are people behind the two who give guidance. Although there are no very bad gestures and cheating people among them, they are much more principled than the small number of people in the garrison. Sugu said, you didn't beat the Royal Oaks, you just beat the chasers in Belfast. Hood retorted, a win is a win. Another smile curled up at the corner of her mouth, she paused, and said, you can hack me, but I heard you. You were hacking Veneto and Andrea just now. I decided to tell them later, you just wait for disaster. It's useless for you to threaten me. Sugu looked at the counterattack, I didn't, it was all a counterattack. She also said that Veneto is only as tall as a peacock. Master, those are all what you usually say, I just wrote them down. Counterattack stuck out the tip of his tongue, in order to gain favor, I remember you told Richelieu before, wait until Hood returns to the garrison, I want Hood to beat you up, and he will do what he says. He was still thinking of being the perpetrator, but suddenly he became the victim. Huda said angrily, what? After being here for so long, it was natural that Sugu would be bored and talk about Akaga's growth, from a royal sister to a young girl, and Sugu would also mention the theory of growth. Although that theory is really unreliable, it has only been modified by Akagi alone after such a long time. For example, Richelieu, Washington, Ziwihi, in addition to pushing down, they have tried various methods, but they still have not grown. Everyone was unhappy, but only South Dakota didn't have such big ideas. It didn't matter whether it was strong or not. Then North Carolina's normal form is completely like a little Lolita, so it doesn't matter. Of course, Hood had also heard of the theory. After complaining, she said funnily, compared to Richelieu, I am the wedding ship. Well, if you grow up once, you will grow up twice. Ha, give it to Richelieu, it doesn't matter if you beat him violently, as long as you beat Bismarck violently for me. Sugu said, it's not good. I can be beaten violently by Richelieu, but not Bismarck. Hood patted Sugu lightly. I want to say that you are too willing to give up for Bismarck. Hood patted Sugu hard. She has been listening by the side. It was already very late when Guangrong came home. She didn't understand at all. She asked what you said. Sugu briefly told her the current situation in Akage, and then explained his speculation on the transformation or growth of the ship girl. After hearing this, Guangrong joked, in this case, when I return to the town hall, I will fight Scharnhorst with Akasta with enthusiasm. In history, the Glorious went to Scapa Flow under the escort of Akasta and Zeal. On the way, it encountered Scharnhorst and Gneisenau. It was too late to find the enemy and had not had time to release the ship. The aircraft was shot through the deck, knocked out of its station, and eventually sunk. If the Ndrangheta grows, according to theory, Scharnhorst may still be an opportunity. But from a game perspective, capital ship modifications like Glory cannot be completed without a certain level, and Glory definitely does not have that high level of training. Moreover, I only have Scharnhorst, not Gneisenau, and even Scharnhorst has not returned to the garrison. In other words, I really want to see Cheongsam Scharnhorst. Guangrong began to talk to himself again. The growth of Royal Ark will push U-81 to the ground. If Royal Oak wants to grow, U-47 is indispensable. On the contrary, she was almost scared to death by U-47. After Sugu finished explaining the transformation of Sheik Hung, he became silent. He counterattacked and asked curiously, Master, what are you thinking about? Sugu was thoughtful and said after a moment, counterattack, I asked you just now whether it is possible that all the Italian groups in our guarding mansion are here, but you said you didn't know. I suddenly thought about how Akage grew up. At first I guessed that Akage might meet the 3 York City level sisters of the deep sea, and then I did. My feeling was still pretty good. Everyone left the town hall and went their separate ways. If you went to the west, Veneto may indeed come back here. Everyone says that the Admiral and the ship girl have a mysterious connection. Even if the Admiral's appearance changes, the ship girl will not mistake him for it. Just like twins who have similar looks, the ship girl will not make mistakes. Then the Admiral and the ship girl parted, in the vast sea of people. We can always meet. Just being here and talking about Veneto is a kind of fate, right? I heard this sentence mentioned by Lexington, and Sugu now half believed it. Recalling the first time I met Xiaozai, he happened to be wearing a hat and sunglasses. To be honest, Xiaozai had no way of recognizing him. But Xiaozai's character, if she didn't have a mysterious feeling about herself, she wouldn't say so many words and then lead to what happened next. In the vast sea of people, you can meet everyone along the way. There are many proactive searches and many coincidences. After all, the world is so big, it is really difficult to meet each other. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 613. He met Xiao Zhe in the ruins of the Tut Larry mansion, and agreed to Xiao Zhe's request to retrieve everyone who once belonged to the Tut Larry mansion and build the best Tut Larry mansion. For Sugu, he didn't really care much at first. His only impression of everyone was from the game. It doesn't matter if you can find the best or you can't find it. There are students from all over the world in the college. I just casually asked familiar classmates if they had any information about wandering ship girls. If they didn't, it would be fine. As he got along with everyone, Sugu also got to know the ship girl better and better. When the admiral is not around, they will become hesitant, depressed, uneasy, and confused. Even so, they will always think about the admiral and their thoughts will never change, so they gradually regard it as their responsibility to find everyone. After becoming the official admiral, in order to find everyone, he almost asked any admiral who was familiar with him after saying a few words. The garrison was very strong, even too strong. Many people asked questions, but Sugu often gave perfunctory answers. Since he worked tirelessly to collect information about wandering ship girls, someone actually explained it for him. You see, Su works so hard, searching for information about wandering ship girls, running around all day long. With this kind of spirit and the level of fishing being so high, it's not surprising that the garrison is where it is today. The level of fishing is high. This is a misunderstanding. It is just to deduce the cause of the matter from the result of the matter. This explanation is quite reluctant. Generally speaking, no matter how hard you try, it is still very difficult to get so many ship girls here. Then, this barely confirmed Sugu's efforts. I wonder if it is a kind of blessed soul. There will always be a mysterious connection between the admiral and the ship girl. I wonder if Veneto will be here, no matter what he does, with the little Loli who also belongs to Italy. Anyway, Sugu put forward his idea and everyone started thinking. First of all, Sheng Sheng was hesitant to speak, but Sugu discovered it keenly. He knew very well Sheng Sheng's personality after putting on a maid uniform, and said, "Sheng Sheng, just say what you want to say. Then I'll tell you straight. Really, if you have any ideas, just say it. You don't need to treat me as your master." Prestige organized the language and said, "You just talked about coincidence and fate. I think since you mentioned the Mediterranean, and the only naval power here in the old world was Italy, it is natural to talk about the Veneto. It's like smelling meat. The aroma makes me want to eat meat. This is not fate at all." As a little maid, her reputation as a counterattack was higher than that of her sister. Because she had been with Sugu for a long time, her concept of the master became gradually blurred. She is not a yes man, and unconditional support will only harm people. She has no hope of finding Veneto, saying, "We went to the west before, but Lexington and Saratoga are in Gießen. And Admiral Hipper, many of the generals, Kent, Helena, and Wichita are all in the east. It's not that the ship girls who belonged to the West in the past will definitely return to the West, they just happen to go to the West. Master, are you being too sensitive?" Hood looked at counterattack, and she said, "Counterattack, you are not doing this right. We have come to the West, and Veneto and the others may also come. Before we know their information, we can't tell what will happen. The ideal is very full, but the reality is very skinny and unacceptable." Sugu was deeply relieved to finally have someone on his side. Although he was just talking casually, it didn't matter if someone objected. Before Sugu could speak, Huda put down Ginger, and she got up from the bed and said as she walked, "It doesn't matter whether it's good luck to the soul or fate." She walked to the window, reached out and touched the head of Legion who was hanging on the window, took the little Loli down, and said, "Don't lie down on the window and look outside, be careful of falling." Putting his hands on the window sill, Hood tried his best to look into the distance. There is not an endless sea outside. After all, cruise ships often choose to stay as close to the coast as possible to ensure safety. Only the rolling mountains could be seen in the field of vision, and the outline of the city could not be seen. She said, "At noon, I said this is the Mediterranean Sea, and then, Admiral, what do you think? Do you want to go to the land that once belonged to Italy in the old world?" Sugu did have such an idea in his mind. He nodded without hesitating. After a pause, Hood suddenly asked a question. There is no danger. This is a long-distance cruise ship. It will definitely not dock near here. I am afraid it will not stop until it sails out of the Mediterranean Sea. How should we get off the ship? Now everyone is on the ship and there is no way to leave. Of course, it's okay to leave if you really want to. The cruise ship will definitely have a lifeboat. In addition, everyone is a ship girl. They walk on the sea as if they were on flat ground and have no worries about sharks or the like. Guangrong saw Sugu's distressed expression, and she laughed and said, "Admiral, you look like you were shocked." Sugu pursed his lips and said, "I didn't say go now." Huda said, "Everyone is looking forward to spending a long cruise life with the Admiral. There are not so many people. We can talk to the Admiral every day and listen to the Admiral's stories. We couldn't be happier. There is no information at all, just for speculation. The first 6 senses, small possibilities, the Admiral is abandoning everyone." Ah! Sugu originally thought that the 3 heroes were fighting Lubuletin, but something went wrong later, and Huda showed a smile. "It's not for the trip, but to find the sisters in the garrison. In fact, I am sure everyone can understand and support it. We still have to live together for a lifetime, but it doesn't matter if we are separated these days." Touching, Sugu said, "I'm just guessing, just talking casually. I haven't decided to disembark and leave. Think about it, after all, there is no intelligence, only guesses and feelings." Dignified, elegant, and also fond of silence, Hood did not have many desires in the past. However, it was the Admiral who felt 200 good. For the sake of the Admiral, she pretended to be nonchalant and said, "I want to say, go. Since it is possible and since you feel it, go. We will disembark at the next city where the cruise ship docks, and then go back." As soon as these words came out, the surrounding atmosphere suddenly changed, and Guangrong immediately spoke, "Hood, you are so unlucky. Even if Veneto is here, there is no way for you to meet, so forget it. Let me do it, please accompany the Admiral. I have traveled here before and I am very familiar with him." The counterattack belonged to the little follower of the Prince of Wales. She didn't take Hood so seriously. She said, "Hood, your luck is really bad." Hood looked at Sheng Sheng hoping to get help, but Sheng Sheng's expression remained unchanged and said, "The master has decided. The little lowly is neither up nor down, and is not afraid of the Hood at all. After all, Cat Hood is not as majestic as the Prince of Wales. No matter who he is, he can immediately be honest with him with just one glance. Even girls like Leipzig are often intimidated, although the Prince of Wales is also very troubled by this." Legion laughed, "Sisterhood is unlucky." M1 laughed, "Drink cold water to stuff your teeth." Hood explained, "I definitely have better luck than Royal Oak." "It's too easy to be satisfied," Guangrong said, "you are just luckier than Royal Oak." Hood took a deep breath. "It's easy to encounter danger outside." "Glory, you are not strong enough." "Hood, you are not strong enough to fight back." Guangrong knows her own level after all, and she also knows the strength of everyone in the guarding mansion. As a battle cruiser, counterattack has great power and has defeated many enemies in exercises. Of course, Hood is also very strong and often serves as the flagship. However, in order to attack Hood, I don't mind launching a counterattack. I'm still better at fighting back." Immediately she became unhappy with the counterattack, and said, "If the master is around, I will definitely be stronger than you. I will work hard for him like the skills in the game. The closer you are to the starting point, the more bonus attributes the skill will have. You may encounter situations where you need to attack. As long as you stay away from the Admiral, you will always become absent-minded and weaker." Hood knew the weakness of counterattack. She counterattacked and looked around, and found that her sister didn't speak at all. She said, "Just think that I can't do it. My sister cares too much about the master. She will become helpless when she is around the master for safety reasons. But when she is far away from the master, she will become the god of war, more powerful than anyone else. Huangrong nodded, the reputation is great. The discussion here actually attracted a lot of people's attention. After listening to half of it, I could barely understand what was going on. Royal Ark said, the reputation is indeed very powerful, and she has the best luck among us. Edinburgh leaned against the wall and waved the baton in her hand in boredom. Along the way, the head maid took on the responsibility of taking care of everyone and reciprocated. She said, the head maid has a reputation of taking care of people. She's still a wedding ship, just right. This was another glorious voice. It's troublesome to carry ginger and fish cakes with you when you do things. Hood, are you willing not to bring the cat with you? Anything can be solved calmly, and it still has a good reputation. I want to go. On the surface, he seems speechless, but his inner thoughts are full and rich. This is the light cruiser Sirius. However, her words were too quiet and were completely drowned out by the discussion, so no one heard her. I do not want to go. The unicorn smiled slightly and looked at the pursuer, thinking, no one asked you to go. Missouri also came to the cabin here. She mainly wanted to change a book and read. Seeing the bustle here, she asked Sugu doubtfully, why is there so much noise here? There was no conversation at all, so Sugu explained to Missouri. After a brief explanation, Missouri said in a funny voice, it hurts their feelings if they make such a noise, otherwise I'll accompany you. I happen to be familiar with this place, so it turns out I just didn't have time to come here. You must accompany Hindenburg, don't let her run away. And only if she doesn't understand anything when she arrives at the garrison, you will be easy to bully. If she misses it, you will have no chance. It's so difficult. Missouri shook her head from side to side, and raised her head just in time to see Sheng Sheng looking at her. Sugu lowered his head and said, I was just talking casually. I didn't decide to get off the boat, nor did I decide to go find Veneto. Is this going to be coerced? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 614. The gentle sea breeze blows through the port, and the dense canopy of trees on the roadside is swaying. When the sea breeze stopped, the white pigeons that had taken off began to peck their feathers on the square, grass, white fence, stone benches, and benches. The bell of the bell tower not far away rang, dong dong dong, 11 times, and the passengers walking on the stone road subconsciously raised their heads. The old man pushing the wheelchair smelled the salty smell of the sea breeze. He also looked up at the bell tower and leaned on the wheelchair with his eyes closed again. I don't want to think of those nightmarish scenes in my memory, but I always recall them inadvertently every time I hear the bell. Crying, wailing, talking, shouting from the bottom of one's heart, gasping, comforting, and singing that never yields in the face of any hardship. Coconut trees fell down, beautiful buildings were reduced to ruins by gunfire, flames and smoke were everywhere, and tired people sat on tiles. Those who were lucky enough to be alive stood on the street and looked around. There were broken walls everywhere, and fear and despair filled the air. This city was once attacked by a deep-sea ship girl, and it was not until the ship girls arrived that it was saved. In order to thank the ship girl and to celebrate that the city was finally saved from the attack, the bell tower that unexpectedly did not suffer any damage during the attack now has a name called Victory Bell Tower. With a suitcase beside him, a man named Sugu was sitting under the shade of a roadside shop. His eyes also fell on the bell tower. After looking away from the bell tower for a long time, he said, to be honest, I was just talking casually. Sitting opposite him, listening to his words was a beautiful maid wearing a black and white maid uniform, with golden blue heterochromatic eyes, and blonde hair that just reached her shoulders. Nowadays, there are still professions like maids in various parts of the West, and there are also beautiful maids. However, it is rare to see a maid who is not standing next to the master, ready to serve at any time, but sitting at the same table with the master. In fact, the blonde maid also wanted to stand by her master's side, but she was forced to hold her down under the table and ordered her to do nothing. She looks like a maid, but she is actually the ship's girl who has inherited the soul of the battle cruiser renown. If you reveal your identity, no matter which coastal city you appear in, your status will not be much worse than that of the local governor. At this time, Sheng Sheng was stirring the milk tea with a straw, and she said, "If you don't want to, no one can force you." Sugu replied, "It's hard to refuse." He recalled the scene he met in the cabin, and just mentioned Veneto casually, and then Hood mentioned that they could go together. Then everyone started talking, and finally one girl won, with the reputation of being the head maid. Although she didn't seem to care at all, it was the people around her who took it upon themselves to lift her up to the throne of victory. However, with super strength, good luck, being able to take care of people, and being a wedding ship, his reputation is completely what everyone expects. This incident reminds me of the old days in college dormitories, when no one brought computers in the first year. Just a casual aside, do you think there are still seats in the internet cafe? With the book in hand and not even reading a page, my roommate who was originally lying on the bed had already gotten up, got dressed, and quickly decided what to do in the internet cafe. Finally they asked when we were going out. I didn't have any ideas at first and didn't know how to refuse. I was so inspired that I had a flash of inspiration. The scene in my imagination should be, the cruise ship docked in a nearby city for half a day or a day, and then we went shopping and met everyone by chance. Otherwise, we would go to the nearby ship girl headquarters or let's talk about it. Town hall, and then learn the news about Veneto, or they happen to be there. Think about us going to the bar, and then suddenly many people wearing sunglasses and suits appeared to clear the place, and then the mafia boss walked in. It's not bad. Sheng Sheng hesitated for a moment, and finally decided to speak. It's not that easy, and your ideas are also very strange. I'm just thinking about it. I don't really expect it, Sugu explained as he ate a piece of snacks. He pushed the plate with the snacks again. It tastes good. You can try it. Sheng Sheng looked at the snacks close at hand, his hands still on the apron without reaching out, and said, "No need. Otherwise, I'll feed you." Sugu took another snack and raised his hand. "Don't make fun of reputation." The voice was calm. Sugu unconsciously glanced at a woman wearing a white dress and a wide-brimmed hat walking by. Behind the woman was a man carrying a bag. They looked like a couple. They were walking in a hurry. He smiled and said, "How can you say you are teasing? You are my wedding ship." Sheng Sheng didn't say anything more. After all, Sugu's raised hand didn't reach Sheng Sheng's mouth, but instead put it into his own mouth. Then I looked at the passenger ship that was unloading passengers at the pier. There were adults and children, gentlemen and ladies, students and couples. In addition, I saw people standing on the deck of the passenger ship in the distance. They were probably sailors or ship girls. Anyway, it was too far away to see clearly. Sugu suddenly said, "We have disembarked and are going back to the land that once belonged to Italy. It would be great if we can find Veneto, but we will be embarrassed if we can't find him. Master should trust his own feelings and the connection between the admiral and the ship girl. It's hard to believe. This connection feels too mysterious. I'm half doubtful about fate." After many years of anti-feudal and anti-superstitious education, Sugu felt that his views had changed drastically when he came to this world, which was completely unscientific. Ship girls have great power, especially Akage, whose arrows can also turn into carrier-based aircraft. In addition, when the deep-sea flagship appears, the originally clear sky may suddenly start to rain. When it comes to ship girls, there are many supernatural beings, and it wouldn't be surprising if Thulhu appeared one day. Well, this is still a bit strange. There are old rulers and outer gods, etc. The style of painting is wrong. You can believe it when we find Veneto wearing a maid outfit, keeping your reputation as a maid, saying less and doing more, and mostly responding, "Thank you for your good advice." Sugu laughed. After all, he didn't sit on the white round table in the shop for long. When he finished drinking the juice and the milk tea to see the reputation, Sugu said, "Let's go. First we will visit the city's town hall and the ship girl headquarters. If we have to do business, it's the same with just 2 people, no more people. Reputation has never been to the city, and no one knows where the garrison is, and it's not marked on the map." But after asking passers-by, it soon became clear that this garrison was also very powerful. The garrison that guards big cities and traffic arteries is often powerful, and this can be confirmed. It can also be confirmed that the garrison is often not close to the urban area. He arrived at the local townhouse on the outskirts of the city before noon. The admiral of the townhouse was a handsome middle-aged man with blonde hair and blue eyes. I don't know his background, but he looks like he's from the military. After making some inquiries, and then leaving the townhouse after thanking him, I didn't get any useful information at all. Despite this, Sugu was not disappointed. After all, I didn't have high hopes from the beginning. This place didn't even belong to the land that used to be Italy. I just wanted to give it a try. The two went to the local ship girl headquarters again, but with no results. Since he is not an acquaintance, it is not easy to pester him with detailed questions. It's already great that people can take the time to come. The sky was getting darker and it was already evening when I left the ship girl headquarters. After dinner, we found a decent hotel. Of course, there is no need to open 2 rooms. I had been sleeping with Hood at home, and this was the first time I was in the same room with Fame. The lights in the hotel were dimmed, the chandelier was turned on, and the bedside lamp was turned on. Sugu took a shower first, sat next to the bed after washing, and then took out a book from his suitcase. Shangxin went to take a shower again. After she came out of the shower, she wiped her golden hair with a towel. She only wore a white shirt, and the hem of the shirt could barely cover her thighs. This kind of Shangxin was simply uncontrollable. It was not too late at this time, and he did not go to bed so early. His reputation was out, and there was no need to kill time with a book. Sugu sat in the room and chatted casually with his reputation. Counterattack the sanitation work in the town hall. When you return to the town hall, what do you want to do with your reputation? Reputation tugged on her collar and replied, "Anything is fine, I am the head maid. The job a maid should do." Of course, Sugu had never seen a real head maid before, and most of his impressions of the head maid came from anime. I have the impression that the head maid is always by the master's side, and anything can be done by entrusting it to the head maid. It doesn't matter whether it's work, housework, or even fighting. After thinking for a while, he said, "The head maid is the head maid, and this is the duty. I leave all the counterattacks and Fletcher to you. Just take care of everyone, and you are also responsible for checking for deficiencies and filling in the gaps." Again, it feels like your and Lexington's duties overlap a lot. Well, after all, we only have a small garrison. In terms of management, I have nothing to do with you. But you are all so powerful that your talents are overused in the garrison. It will be all right. The matter was decided for the time being. Sugu believed that Renzhong could accomplish anything with ease. He was a little curious and asked, "Does Renzhong have any hobbies?" "Which preference?" "Food and stuff." "No particular preference. For example, Hood likes reading books and petting cats." "What about you?" "You like to take care of people. If you can take good care of everyone, you will feel very happy and good. Sure enough, the head maid has such a nature, Sugu said, a sense of identity. Yes, Sheng Shen nodded, thinking that this rare opportunity would make the question less abrupt. Do you have any preferences, Admiral? Sugu smiled. You should know, anyway, you know all about counterattacks. Prestige says a lot, almost all of it is correct. Sugu admired the abilities of these two maids. It's completely unexpected that the person who manages the ship girl branch here is actually the Prince of Wales. She was not wearing a maid uniform, her personality changed a little, she became more talkative, and she said, "You must be very surprised that you and I met in such a situation. But things are always so incredible and unpredictable." This sentence is exactly the line used by the Prince of Wales in the game. Sugu said with a smile, "She is not my ship girl, she would not say such a thing to me." Thinking of the appearance of the Prince of Wales, Sugu added, "She feels completely different from the Prince of Wales in our garrison. Not wearing an eye patch and not having the right hairstyle. It seems to be true, but the face is also different." Sugu still knows his Prince of Wales well enough. Everyone is different. I feel much easier to talk to than our Prince of Wales. We are all guests. After a pause, Sugu suddenly got down to business again. He said, "I heard her say that no one in the nearby county offices is better than Veneto. We have already bought the ferry tickets and will set off the day after tomorrow. Then we will go there tomorrow. Want to go to a city a little further away. It's probably too late. We can't go there and come back on the same day. We might miss the boat." "Yes, well, Missouri said that the Königsberg sisters left with the Z driver. Those people were probably the ship girls of our garrison. We did not return to the garrison. I still think there is a high possibility, Venetoya heard the news and took everyone back. But Missouri didn't know, and neither did we. After all, everyone has actually thought about this problem, but they just think it's nothing to come and look for it. If Veneto returned to the garrison, Suguhi's reputation would be nothing more than returning later and there would be no loss. If they hadn't gone back, Sugu's feeling would have come true, and he would have made a lot of money." Reputation said, "Admiral, do you want them to go back, or do you want us to find them?" "I don't know, it's okay." Sugu continued, "We still have to wait for the ship. If we can't go to the next city, what will we do tomorrow?" Sheng Shen hesitated for a moment, and she couldn't give any advice. "Otherwise, we can only take a stroll here. It seems like this is all we can do. Let's go shopping." "I thought that wearing a maid uniform during the day would be great for having a good reputation, but my performance would seem too stable. He won't chat with you casually. No matter what you say, he will mostly respond with a smile and pursed lips. At this time, I was only wearing my shirt at night, so I started talking more, and my personality became much more girlish. Wearing different clothes will subconsciously do things that match your status. This is prestige." Sugu continued, "If we go shopping tomorrow, please stop wearing the maid uniform." "What to wear?" "Fortunately, I bought a lot of clothes for reputation." Sugu said, "Otherwise, you can wear that white shirt with lotus leaf collar and lantern sleeves, the one you have now, and then pair it with jeans. I feel like a mature lady. You match well." As he spoke, he looked at Reputation, but Reputation was not shy at all like his sister's counterattack. She didn't say anything arrogant, and nodded, "Okay. There is no mission tomorrow, so I can only go shopping." Sugu suddenly thought to himself that when Hood and the others returned to the garrison and couldn't see him, Lexington would be fine, but Saratoga would be very unhappy. "I don't know the situation, but if Veneto is like the Königsberg sisters and they have returned to the garrison, and then he and Reputation are outside, my sister-in-law will probably explode. Is this a search for Veneto by yourself and your Reputation, or is it a journey for two? Whether you can find Veneto or not, there is definitely nothing wrong with traveling by yourself and your reputation. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De-rong Yan. Chapter 615. If you like short hair, it doesn't matter what kind of hair you like, whether it's student hair, ear-length hair, sister hair, short hair. Short hair is a great test of appearance and temperament. Most of the people who can manage short hair are beauties. It can be cool or cute. However, this is not difficult for the ship girl. Even though the destroyers Cossack and Punjab are avoided by everyone, the reason behind them is that they are not famous in history. In addition, the clothes they just woke up are really tacky. In fact, it only needs a little dressing up to look cute and beautiful. Many old drivers even dare to say that if they grow up, Cossacks and Punjabis will become very beautiful like plastic surgery. Back then, you ignored me, but now I am beyond your reach. The prestigious blonde hair just reaches her shoulders. It is not actually short hair. It should be said that medium and long hair is better. Sugu still likes it very much. I like short hair, medium to long hair, and long hair, as long as I have good looks. This sentence may be accurate for many people, but it definitely does not apply to Sugu. After disembarking in the port city, I planned to find a group of cute little Lolita. I visited the local garrison and the ship girl headquarters that day, but it was of no use. I have already bought the ferry ticket, but the departure time is not close yet, but I still have to wait. It's not that far away. If I want to visit a nearby city, I don't have enough time. Nothing to do but go shopping. If you're very lucky, you might meet Veneto on the street, that's just a thought. In the game, there are Africans. Count Zeppelin cannot be fished out in the Valkyrie activity, and there are no fishery ships Yingrui or Zayahi at all. In short, there are no rare ships. None of this matters, don't worry about it. What is depressing is that a lot of resources have been spent, and it is distressing to not have a small skirt that can be lifted up. I once met Admiral Yuchin, and I felt that I was being beaten not only in terms of financial resources, but also in terms of luck. Others had Dadian and Suffolk, and then I just relied on the benefits of the game. Well, the other party was only born with a silver spoon in his mouth to reach such a level, let alone the second child. When I got up in the morning, I told my reputation not to wear a maid outfit. I changed into a white shirt, white jeans, and high heels and went out. The number of people turning around was much higher than yesterday. She casually ate breakfast, she was still a woman after all, and she no longer had any attachment to the maid in her heart, so she didn't mind shopping. I fell in love with a hair tie at a roadside shop, tied up my blonde hair due to reputation, and asked Sugu if it looked good. After hesitating for a moment, thinking that there was no need to pretend in front of his wife, Sugu said, "I'm not used to it, and I don't like it in such a short braid. It's okay to tie your long hair into a ponytail. Short hair should be neat and chic, and long hair should be worn over the shoulders most. No matter how beautiful a person is, red and green clothes are still tacky. Short hair is fine, as long as it's not done through labor. If you have long hair, it doesn't matter whether you have straight black hair, wavy hair, or a perm. Even Lexington doesn't like braiding long hair in a normal style. The hairstyle also has something to do with the wedding dress. Especially those with sky-high braids, short braids, etc. feel ugly and explosive." Sugu expressed his opinion, and Reputation patted him on the shoulder, "You have no taste." Her reputation today is not that of the head maid, she is less dignified and more lively. How should shopping be? As a man, you only need to follow behind to carry things, and pay the bill when necessary. If this is the case, will it become like a humanoid self-propelled ATM? As an admiral with a favorability of 200, of course he can enjoy the treatment of a prestige hug. Today's prestige has become particularly different. Walking up the slope, stepping on the red bricks on the ground, Consultant Su said, you don't go shopping much because of your reputation. Only the last time I went shopping with you. There are so many people there, don't you usually go shopping with everyone? Busy at work. It's all up to you to work, Hood is really useless. In fact, I was thinking that you usually go shopping a lot as the head maid, do you want to help everyone buy clothes? Reputation question, since you said this, did everyone buy the Admiral's clothes for you? It's a bit embarrassing to say it. I'm not very good at buying clothes. On the one hand, it's very casual. It doesn't matter what kind of clothes and pants they are as long as they are not too ugly. The underground shopping mall in my hometown is called Little Hong Kong. Don't worry about the name. Remember? When I was a kid, I would go with my mother. I would first bargain in half for the clothes I wanted to buy, and then talk about other things. I couldn't handle such advanced skills. After I started working, I didn't have much money, so I would always go shopping with my brother when buying clothes. He helped me choose and pay for it. Some brothers in the family like to quarrel, but my brother and I basically didn't quarrel. In the end, in the garrison, except for the Admiral's uniform, Lexington bought most of my clothes for me, or else there was a diva. Hand sewing. As a man, I don't know how to bargain at all. The main reason is that I can't lose face. When I mention my mother and brothers, I feel a little sad. The owner has asked some questions in the past. As a ship girl, she always wants to meet her father-in-law and mother-in-law. It is better to call her parents, but she can only get the answer of I will probably never go back. I have never asked again in a reasonable manner. Sheng Shen noticed Sugu's expression very keenly. She paused and wanted to change the subject, and said with a smile, "This doesn't make you look good. The Admiral didn't have a girlfriend before." "Don't talk about such sad things," Sugu still defended a little. "You can't fall in love early in high school, but your parents want you to fall in love when you get to college. It's just that I majored in engineering, and there wasn't a single girl in the class, so I was very embarrassed." She knew a little about the reputation, so she said, "It's impossible that there are no girls on the entire campus." "Our new campus, well, there is also a foreign language major, and many girls. Please, don't mention the sad things. In fact, before I started working, my personality was like Baizai, although I am not as good as hers." "How has it become since you started working?" "I understand a truth, money is hard to make and shit is hard to eat, so I have started to work harder. Now I'm an admiral." Sugu smiled and thought of his life in the town guard mansion. He wanted to work hard but had nothing to do. He said, "Soft rice is delicious." The two walked through the intersection. There was a large circular flower garden in the center of the intersection. Sheng Sheng brought up the original topic again. She said, "Everyone chooses what clothes they want to buy. Even M1 has to buy the clothes he likes. She likes. As for the skirt, I bought a pair of overalls, but I wore them once and didn't wear them anymore." Hood doesn't like buying clothes, but he still helped me buy some clothes out of honor. Hood has nothing to do anymore. He has blue sky, sea breeze, and peaceful afternoon tea every day. "Are you even too lazy to buy clothes?" Sugu shook his head. "She is hopeless." I discovered a problem. The Admiral particularly likes black people. As he said this, Reputation's eyes looked left and right on the street. "I don't like black people, I like mixed races." Sugu smiled again and said, "I have hacked many people, such as Jia, cheating on the Bath Queen, eating and drinking, but I have never hacked you like Reputation. Nor has Lexington. Think about Lexington. In fact, it's just that the battleship Lexington has not been hacked. The ship's wife, Lexington, was named Shen Yun. Because she heard that the little house was called Suzayazai, she had the idea of changing her name to Su Yun. Then in the bedroom, people often criticized her for being like a wolf when she was 30 and like a tiger when she was 40, But she was not shy easily. She shouted that she had paid the public food and was immediately defeated. I wonder what will happen if I go back this time. Of course, Reputation didn't know what Sugu was thinking. She said amusedly, which one likes me or Lexington more? The head maid shouldn't ask such a question. The prestige of not wearing a maid uniform is not that of a head maid. Then you'd better put on your maid uniform. The unwillingness to answer questions means that you prefer Lexington. I like the little house the most. Sheng Sheng blinked and said to Sugu, as for the little house, when I return to the town hall, I should call her Miss, Little Miss, or, Mistress. The small house has a bad influence. You can grow up. When I grew up, I became Bazai. I remembered that Bazai liked to sing I Became You when I grew up in front of Xiazai. Xiazai was very angry every time because she knew that her destiny could not be changed. Suguda he laughed and said, Bismarck also persuaded me to give Xiazai a ring. Hey, Reputation, don't look at me like that. I'm not a lolicon. Bismarck meant that the ring is just for approval. When shopping, I accompanied the girl to buy clothes, shoes, and jewelry, but in the end I didn't buy anything. I went to an expensive jewelry store, but I wasn't a person who likes jewelry. I already had a ring, so I just bought earrings in the end. I bought a set of clothes. After all, everyone still has the task of looking for Italian little Lolita. If you can go on a killing spree in Chuangziu, now you have bought clothes and shoes that are inconvenient to carry. After buying a rabbit ear headband, Sugu expressed his liking and bought it directly due to his reputation. He was very cheerful and generous. What they said was shopping was actually just wandering around, and they even walked a long way along the seaside together. The two of them discussed various warships and fish out of boredom. Seeing that we were gradually leaving the city and heading towards the bustling streets, I almost got lost as I turned here and there, so I hailed a taxi and entered the city center. I watched people perform magic tricks in the square, looked at the tall statues, and went to the church to see the colorful rose windows. I wanted to go to the concert but didn't go. After lunch, I started shopping again. After coming out of the store for a long time, I sat on a bench by the roadside. Finally feeling a little tired, Sugu stretched his legs and hit his thighs with his hands. Even though she had changed her clothes and personality, the essence of her reputation was still that of the head maid. She squatted on the ground and beat Sugu's legs. Countless eyes suddenly came from around her, and Sugu quickly called out her reputation. What are you doing? Serve the master. Reputation replied naturally. There's no need to do it to this extent, in public. It doesn't matter. Sheng Sheng put his hands into the front pockets of his jeans, squinted his eyes in the sun, and the mature woman became youthful and beautiful, and smiled. Whatever the master has asked for, Sheng Sheng will fulfill it with ease. Looking at her reputation, Sugu found that compared to Richelieu, Washington, and Bismarck, she was not tall enough and her figure tended to be plump. At this time, he stood up straight and looked slim. After opening his mouth and then shutting it up, Sugu finally said, Feng Xing, you are really handsome like this. Reputation smiles and is not proud at all. Then she sat next to Sugu and said, we walked around for a long time. Sugu looked at the sky. It was almost dusk now and the sunlight turned orange. He responded. Reputation said, after shopping around for so long, I discovered the master's fatal problem. What is the problem? Recalling the journey, Sheng Sheng said, we went to the store in the morning. I actually saw that Victorian-style dress and wanted to buy it. You said it looked like Kent, but I suddenly didn't want to buy it. Anyway, we went shopping. For so long, you have never said that you are beautiful. You always talk too much about who you look like. You look like Lexington, you look like the Prince of Wales, you look like Bismarck. It makes people feel bad. You are obviously two people shopping, you like mention others. If everyone wasn't a ship girl, you really wouldn't be able to find a girlfriend. I can still find it. Someone has liked me before. After coming here, I worked hard in the county town before meeting Xiaozai. Having gone to college, he is much better than the average person of this era, both in terms of conversation and personality. Then I met a dark-skinned young beauty who took the initiative to pursue her. Of course, she was far worse than the ship girl. Sheng Sheng said, when you are together, there will definitely be a lot of conflicts. But I'm very good at correcting myself. As long as I say something, I'll try to write it down and I won't do it again. I haven't found you to have such a quality. Holding his hands behind his head, looking at the people coming and going on the street, Sugu said, really, your reputation has completely changed without wearing the maid uniform. It doesn't feel so stable, and it's a bit poisonous and belly-catching dark-looking. There was no refutation or justification, and reputation said, which reputation do you like, Admiral? The head maid is steady, chic, and handsome. She talks less and does more, anyway, I like it. I actually don't know how to describe it later, so I'll end it with a universal answer. Sheng Sheng smiled and said nothing, put his hands on his thighs, and acted as if he was wearing a maid uniform before, and his smile became steady. Sitting next to him, Sugu looked at Sheng Sheng's profile and saw that Sheng Sheng had changed into a shirt and jeans at his own request. The sunlight shone through the gaps between the trees and shone in his eyes, which was a bit dazzling, so he quickly turned his head away. He made up his mind that no matter what the reputation was, it would be fine. After resting for a while, Sugu stood up and said, Reputation, what should we eat tonight? The master has made the decision. I think about it, let's go to the restaurant and look at the menu and try something I haven't tried before. The two figures' backs drifted away under the setting sun. Reputation, why do you all call me master? In my impression, many maids call me master, otherwise they call me young master. The boat is on the boat tomorrow morning. Remember to wake me up early. You can wear whatever you want, whatever you want. I like it very much. After walking around the city and having a good rest at night, we got up early the next morning and everyone boarded the boat and left. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 616. Reputation put on the maid uniform again and became the head maid. Even without special request, she still likes to dress like a maid, and there is nothing anyone can do about it. Rather than following everyone around, she prefers to be one position behind. Even though she is already on a wedding ship, she still likes to think of herself as a maid. Ordinarily, even if she likes to take care of others, it is obviously better to be a wife. But this is probably considered an attribute. The character of the ship girl is often stubborn and difficult to change. Just like liking a person will never change, unlike admirals as human beings whose hearts can change. Taking a boat to a land that once belonged to Italy, along with the prestige of wearing a maid outfit, felt a bit boring. The head maid will not speak proactively unless she is bringing water or snacks, otherwise she will ask and answer questions. However, Sugu also knew one thing. Although the head maid didn't like to talk, she would listen attentively when she spoke. In addition, it was obvious that she also liked listening to herself. With your reputation as a manager, you should rarely go on missions. There are valuable goods. Just in case, Hood or I will go out. The company is engaged in the logistics industry. The fighting ability of Glorious is inferior. Sugu still knew the Glorious fighting power. There is no good way to confirm the data of the ship girl here, but everything is clear in the game. Glory is not a powerful battle cruiser. Just chatting, most of the time it's just looking for trouble. Reputation replied, she has no problem handling ordinary situations. Thinking about it, that's true. Glory has been fully strengthened and its equipment is better than most people's. Even Missouri and Hindenburg, who were in the combat group before, can't compare to Glory except for their own equipment. By the way, you may encounter deep-sea ship girls from time to time. Yes. Princeton used to work as a guard on a luxury cruise ship, a super luxurious one. She went on a sortie and encountered the destroyer USS Cushing, and then we brought her back to the garrison. Did you never encounter anyone or salvage anyone during your sortie? Cushing can already call her Admiral, she is such a cute little loli. It's just at the head touching stage now. If you put your palms on it, the little loli will hold her head with both hands and cover it with her palms. Then she will push her hands away and say angrily, "Don't touch your head." She won't be angry, she will just be coquettish. The next goal is to wait until I can hug her. The energetic little loli looks very soft. Huh, no matter what people say, as an admiral, no one can be missing. Fighting is the last resort. Even if it can be easily defeated, it is better to avoid the battle. Sheng Sheng paused and said, I met the awakened ship girl at sea before, but she was taken away. The company will get rid of us. There is also the ship girl headquarters and the two admirals as shareholders, and they took them away. Sugu curiously asked, what ship girl? Destroyer Javelin. It doesn't matter, it's just a javelin. He already has a javelin in his garrison, and he also likes to make dark dishes like in London. In fact, the taste is better than that in London. It is not considered dark cuisine, but the selection of ingredients is too weird. He likes to cook messy things, and he even mentioned whether he wanted to cook the tentacles of a deep-sea submarine and the tail of a destroyer. Reputation said, as admirals, you like to divide ship girls into 3, 6, or 9 levels. Emotions are the most important thing, even if there are no emotions. Boys, girls, smart or stupid, whether they have medical history, whether they have disabilities, many people go to orphanages to adopt children, and there are many considerations. After saying this, Advisor Su said, the reputation is here. Have you ever encountered the destroyer Baffler? No. Seeing that reputation was looking at him, Sugu explained, it is said that Baffler is very cute, so I just asked him casually. Occasionally chatting, occasionally reading, we spent a whole day on the boat before boarding the dock. Not tired of running around, he immediately went to the local garrison and the ship girl headquarters. As usual, he found nothing, which made him feel discouraged and doubted that his feelings really had no effect. You have already landed on this land. If you don't have it in the city, then go to the next city. No need to take a boat, just a car. Visiting the governor's house and the ship girl's headquarters along the way is not a rush. After sorting out things that day, you will also take time to take in the scenery, such as magnificent temples, monasteries, unique streets, arenas, large squares, and many other places. We also tasted delicious food, such as pizza, noodles, cheese, ham, snacks, and many more. The coast went all the way to Shuicheng. I rested for a day in Shuicheng and saw the crisscrossing waterways, winding water lanes, flowing clear waves and ancient walls covered with moss. Standing on the bridge, Sugu looked at the buildings not far away and asked, Reputation, how do you think the city was built? Have no idea. You usually seem to know everything. I just happen to know. Well, drive the stakes down and then lay down the masonry. The perfect head maid, who can solve everything with ease, but is not an encyclopedia. Can you ship girls sail in such shallow water? You should know that we ship girls will not run aground. Sugu felt that he was at a loss for words. He had studied all the abilities of the ship girl in the academy and knew all about them. After visiting the local garrison and ship girl headquarters in Shuicheng, I didn't think about anything else, and then directly crossed several cities to the other coast. There was no ride on one section of the road, so the two of them walked directly there, cracking melon seeds and walking into the wind. Everything on the road is new and novel, and there are no special requirements for walking fast, let alone carrying big bags. From the main road to the small road, I occasionally rolled up my trouser legs and washed my feet in the clear river on the roadside. I bought a knife thinking that it might be used, for example, to cut a path through thorns, trees, and vines. Since I didn't risk my life by walking into the mountains, I just walked along the road, which was completely useless. In short, I came to one city after another and visited to get information. This is a city called Moran. I came out of the Shipgirl branch in the evening, had dinner, and returned to the small hotel. As the sky gradually darkened, I was ready to rest. There was an open map under the warm yellow light of the desk lamp. Many cities were drawn with circles on it in pencil, and lines connected the circles together. It looked like a travel guide. However, if you look closely, you can see that the cities circled with pencils are mostly large coastal cities. Some tourist towns with beautiful scenery are not included in the plan, but some uninhabited islands are circled. This is obviously wrong. If anyone knows about the nearby garrison, they will definitely find that all these enclosed islands are garrisoned by garrison, so they can be sure that this map is not a travel guide at all. Moving the perspective to the side, you can see a man with an oriental face sitting next to him, and a beautiful blonde woman wearing a nightgown sitting next to the bed not far away. She has a plump figure. We disembarked from the port city where the cruise ship docked, spent a day wandering around the port city, and landed on the land that once belonged to Italy. Visiting along the way, they reached Shuicheng and visited several cities. In fact, many days have passed since Sugu and Zhenzhen's journey to find the Italian little Lolita. As for the location of the tutelage on this map, it was all marked out by the enthusiastic shipgirls I met at a shipgirl branch, which saved me the time of asking for directions. Sugu also suggested that based on the history of the battleship Veneto, he would not search all over the Mediterranean and made a rough plan. We have to go to all the coastal cities that once belonged to Italy's land, and also to the vicinity of Cape Matapan. The final location is set to be the historical Strait of Gibraltar. If there are none of these places, then I will be ready to go back. I really didn't expect that the battleship Dunkirk is not the boss, but the boss here is actually the light cruiser Joan of Arc. It doesn't feel right at all. The ship's headquarters is often commanded by battleships, and it is rare to see one commanded by light cruisers. The Joan of Arc seems to have been awake for a long time and knows everything. The Dunkirk is still a newcomer and doesn't understand anything, yet Reputation's eyes have always been sharp. Yes, whoever becomes the boss mainly tests his management ability. Combat effectiveness is still secondary. A battleship as powerful as the Hindenburg cannot be the boss. Speaking of which, I feel that the Joan of Arc is better than the Saint in our garrison. The Joan of Arc is more beautiful. Maybe the Joan of Arc in our garrison likes braids. I still like shawl hair, but short hair is the best. Sheng Sheng reached out and brushed her short blonde hair and smiled. She actually knew this already. I remembered again that the town guardhouse we went to yesterday was really strong. We saw 3 battleships in the office. I don't know how many more we haven't met yet. As an admiral, if you don't fish the boat, you are a salty fish, and if you don't dry the boat, you are also a salty fish. Sugu knew very well that in order to show off, many admirals like to secretly ask little Loli to call the battleship over when someone comes to visit, just to see the red face of the African admiral. The 2 of them went to visit the garrison and happened to see many battleships. Not all of them went to the office to report on their work during the visit, which made it obvious at a glance that something was wrong and had sinister intentions. Sheng Sheng said, "Are you embarrassed to say such a thing?" Sugu nodded thoughtfully. Thinking about it, he had too many battleships. Yesterday was the day before yesterday, I think the afternoon before yesterday. The admiral of the garrison we saw was definitely a ship girl. She looked so beautiful, without any scars or wrinkles. Illegal garrison, Reputation said. Only a town where a human serves as admiral is a formal and legal town. This is the rule of the ship girl headquarters and the human government. However, for example, the town built by the Prince of Wales in the past, as long as it is not so blatant, generally no one takes care of it. Many of them are not controlled by anyone. The country also says that corruption is not allowed, and as long as the corruption is not excessive, no one will take care of it. When it comes to corruption, in fact, most people are on the wrong side. There is also a country that claims that everyone is equal: Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, and untouchable Dalits. Reputation said, an agreement is an agreement. As long as it does not infringe on one's own interests, few people will care about it. The illegal garrison will generally not take care of it. If the garrison is driven away, the sea area will be prone to danger. The Kozalai ship girl branch is in charge of the primary school battleship Roma. She is Veneto's sister. I thought it was stable at first, but it's a pity that she doesn't know Veneto. Think about it, as a sister, Veneto has a barren figure, but her sister has such a great figure. If I were the sister, I would beat her to death. If Roma and Veneto knew each other, Roma would have been beaten to death. Since we can see Roma, we should not know each other. Reputation side, seriously, can't the Admiral not blackmail Veneto? Sugu's voice was decisive, no. This is a matter of principle. Black Veneto, Black Hood, and Black South Dakota are the most interesting. He let out a long sigh. Speaking of which, we have traveled to many places and cannot get any useful information at all. Sugu gradually became fascinated while staring at the map, frowned, and continued, honestly, we can go faster, but I am holding back. Traveling between cities takes a lot of time in transportation. Then, as an ordinary person, I couldn't move as freely on the sea as a ship girl, and it became a complete burden. If there are only ship girls, you can travel to more cities in the same time. We came here mainly because of my feelings for you, Admiral. We definitely wouldn't be able to do it without you. Only the Admiral and the ship's wife have that kind of mysterious connection. Well, actually, the ship's wife and the ship's wife also have it, but in the end they are much different. Unless they are closely related, for example, York City and Hornet both belong to the garrison and are sisters, so they met by chance in Yuki City. Reputation continued, to tell you the truth, it's not because of the Admiral. We sisters say we are sisters and don't care so much about the Italian ship girls. The reason why our relationship is maintained is ultimately because of you, Admiral. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here after you leave the garrison. Finally, everyone separated. Sugu also knew that if he asked the British ship to look for the Italian ship's wife without him by his side, he would definitely go because of the order. But I won't be happy if I leave the Admiral. Taking a deep breath, in order to accompany his reputation, Sugu said, Reputation, thank you for your hard work. It doesn't matter. As a ship girl, as long as you have the resources and are not tired, you will work hard. Sugu smiled and said, with a beautiful maid like you accompanying me and taking care of me, what's so tiring? Speaking of which, we have been looking for those Italian girls for many days. Huda and the others should have already. Let's go to the town hall. Hard to say. It's definitely going to be a good journey, and we have to work hard, so next. Before he finished speaking, Sugu saw that Sheng Sheng was hesitant to speak and asked, what do you want to say? There was nothing shy about it, it was a matter of course, and Reputation spoke again. On the other side, the cruise ship encountered no accidents, did not break down, and was not attacked by the deep-sea ship girls. There are dangers in the sea, but not that much. After all, the Admiral and the ship girl have worked hard for so many years. In short, Hood, counterattack, Missouri, everyone boarded Chuangzhou City, and then they returned to the garrison. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 617. Cathood has returned to the garrison, and Prince Eugen, who has mid-length blue hair hanging down to his shoulders, is looking at her from a distance and snickering. Feeling something in his heart, Huda looked over, and the two people's eyes met, but there was no fierce spark of eye contact. At the same time, he noticed that Hood was looking at him, and Prince Eugen grinned. An evil smile, uneasy kindness, these were the thoughts in Hood's mind as he withdrew his gaze and lowered his head. Then she looked at Bismarck, who had short silver-gray hair like cat ears, and found that her destined enemy was not looking at her at all. His lips were locked and he was scanning the team with his eyes. The garrison was already much higher than the sea level, so it was barely built on the mountainside. When he was not in class, Xiaozai was playing with the Z drivers. We were all German ships and we still had to get along well. I noticed that there were many people running on the sea. I remembered that everyone had been talking about how long it would take for the admiral to return to the townhouse these days. I guessed that everyone was back, so I hurried over. First I saw Missouri, then I looked at the team, but I didn't see the admiral. Xiaozai is a little unhappy with this sister, who always likes to harass him, but there is no way. She lightly kicked Missouri's shoes and asked, "Admiral." Missouri discovered Xiaozai early. She stretched out her hand to hug Xiaozai, but the other party nimbly dodged it. She showed a truly evil smile and said, "Your admiral, he is not coming back." Xiaozai didn't believe it at all. She walked towards Hood, tugged on Hood's plaid skirt and said, "Aunt Hood, I didn't see the admiral." Feeling someone tugging on his skirt, and hearing Xiaozai's childish voice again, Hood's face suddenly turned pale, and the stiff turning of his head became like a robot twisting its neck, as if there was a sound caused by parts. A rusty, creaking sound. If it were Bismarck or Prince Eugen, they would have already exploded, even though the outbreak would be useless. With short pink hair, cute little face, and blinking eyes, the baby battleship makes people unable to get angry or start a fight. But before Hood broke out or died down, telling the little girl that she should be called sister, Xiaozai heard Missouri's faint voice, "Hindenburg, that's Xiaozai, the young version of Tirpitz, she." Then he heard the voice of his Saratoga sister suddenly burst out, hysterically, "What? You said that my brother-in-law and reputation went to look for Veneto, they went to look for those stupid little guys. And there is still no information at all, and I won't come back until at least another 10 days and a half. Come on, don't talk nonsense in counterattack." Saratoga actually knew that Missouri liked to joke, but the little maid was not easy to joke, and she really didn't see that her brother-in-law was still famous. Many words suddenly popped up in her mind, including honeymoon trip, candlelight dinner, and entanglement to the death. "No, you can't lie to me, I don't believe it." Xiaozai was a little uninterested next to him. He had to wait so long for the admiral to come back and wanted to hear the story. In the room, Beizai didn't pay much attention to anything. She rarely sat at the desk in the room, holding a pencil. The fact that she dared to paint directly in the room instead of running to an uninhabited and deserted room shows that what she painted was very harmonious. Harmonious things are too difficult to draw, so there are only a few ovals on the drawing board in front of her, not counting the rough drafts. In fact, in addition to tools such as a rubber eraser and a ruler, there is also a large glass of Blackwater Coke and a large bowl of French fries next to the drawing board. Beizai took the fries with his hands and put them into his mouth. After eating, he sucked his fingers and thought about drawing. It was so boring and he couldn't draw his naked sister. Boom! The sound of pushing the door suddenly sounded. Beizai turned around and saw Saratoga walking in aggressively. He was her best friend, but he had a very troublesome and terrible personality. She somehow thought of Saratoga walking in. The image is used as a character in the book, the heroine's best friend who likes to steal the heroine's husband. Saratoga bypassed Bismarck's bed and threw herself on the bed in the North House. She rolled on the pillow and said in a long voice, "North House, Tirpitz." He had no intention of studying in the first place, and Bazai had no intention of painting at all. She put down the sharpened pencil, turned to Saratoga with a big bowl full of French fries and potato chips, and asked, "Gaga, what's wrong with you?" Shouting at Hood was of no use, and he couldn't chase after his brother-in-law. If you want to find your sister, but she still has something to do, you might as well just go to Bazai. We are all sister-in-laws and have the same level. Saratoga said, "Hood and the others are back." Oh, Bazai responded, feeling a little happy in his heart. Hood is back. My sister has something to do. She can bully Hood now and won't torment herself anymore. I drew her and Prince Eugen humiliating Hood. She shouldn't be angry. The Hood is back, the counterattack is back, the reputation is not back, and then the brother-in-law is not back. Oh. The North House was immersed in her own thoughts. The moon was dark and the wind was high. Bismarck was seen sneaking out of the dormitory, and she came to the door of Prince Eugen's room. Suddenly there was a skillful knock on the door, and Prince Eugen came out not long after. They exchanged a look with each other and then walked to Hood's room. At the same time, the blonde girl with glasses turned over on the bed. She didn't know that she, the little lamb, had become prey. Saratoga rambled on. The two of them said they were looking for Veneto, pretending to be doing business for personal gain, but they were actually just traveling. Without anyone else to follow them, they would definitely do something embarrassing. What about Hood, Glory, and Missouri? What a bunch of rubbish. Oh. Bazai was still thinking, his crumpled underwear blocked his mouth, and Hood was shaking his head but babbling speechlessly. Prince Eugen held down Hood's hands, while Bismarck's hands clamped tightly on Hood's clamped legs like eagle talons. They were almost separated. Tears welled up in Hood's eyes, big ones spinning in his eye sockets, and Bismarck showed a wanton smile. Saratoga finally discovered that Bazai was not listening to her at all, and she yelled, "Bazai!" Oh! The still weak voice made Saratoga understand that if he wanted to be angry with Bazai, he would have to be angry to death first. My brother-in-law and his reputation went on a private honeymoon. His train of thought was interrupted, and Bazai said angrily, "I heard it. Bazai, you are also on a wedding ship. Don't you have any feelings at all?" "No." Taking a deep breath, Saratoga said, "Then my brother-in-law brought a new woman back." She remembered the girl with medium-length grey hair standing next to Missouri, looking at Bismarck, the Prince of Wales, and Richelieu with a confused expression. She heard that it was the Hindenburg. Unexpectedly, Missouri actually told the truth that Hindenburg was back. Since then, a new woman has appeared in the garrison, and she may be Missouri's helper. There is really a wolf in front and a tiger behind. Still in vain, Saratoga worked so hard, Bazai didn't have any extra performance. "I'm so mad at you." Saratoga left. Bazai thought for a while and followed him out to join in the fun. Hindenburg followed Missouri from the office and stood under the magnolia tree. "Missouri, you're not saying Lexington is like an angel?" "I don't think so. You will see her gentleness in the future, and you will shout hallelujah and kiss her with flowers." Missouri thought to herself that Lexington, who comforted him after being pushed to the ground and rubbed hard for the first time in his life, was an angel. Although the angel has no brains, he actually likes a pervert admiral. Thinking of the way Lexington always took his time in the office, she knew the general reason. Feeling that something was wrong, Hindenburg asked curiously, "What does the flower kiss mean?" "Do not ask me." Missouri looked at Hindenburg. "As for you, you will definitely be abused. Lexington will probably comfort you. You will always realize that there is no rush." He couldn't express his thoughts casually, so Missouri said, "Hindenburg, have you seen Bismarck?" How do you feel? The Bismarck is different, his momentum is amazing, but how can he show his cowardice? Hindenburg sneered, it's no big deal, I will teach her a lesson, the Bismarck who beat you. Little Tirpitz, you can call him Zai, feel the strength not so good, how can a little girl who likes to cling to the admiral be so strong? Tirpitz didn't see it, so where did she go? Hindenburg was still somewhat concerned about the German ships. Missouri smiled but didn't smile, thinking that there would always be a time when you would cry. She said, Tirpitz, Bizai, it's surprising that you can see her outside. Hindenburg followed Missouri not far away with his backpack. She never liked to be polite and asked, I don't want to live with you, where should I stay at night? Missouri took Hindenburg to the dormitory building that was currently unoccupied. She raised her chin and said, Here. Hindenburg could also see what was going on and said, No one lives here. You are a guest. I can't treat you badly. The whole building belongs to you. Hindenburg learned the lesson, and she said, Since you treat guests like this, I will leave. Missouri snorted, then laughed and shrugged his shoulders, Now that you're here, if you still want to leave, you're overthinking it. We need to deal with everything clearly, such as arranging accommodation for Hood, Guangrong, Hindenburg, and others. This dormitory building is already full, so we need to clean up the dormitory building next to it so that everyone can move in. Fortunately, I was prepared in advance, and after hearing everyone's news, I have already prepared the room during this period, such as the bed, desk, wardrobe, dresser, etc., all arranged. But in terms of details, towels, daily necessities for washing, curtains, quilts, etc., because everyone has different hobbies, we can only prepare them when everyone comes back. Hindenburg is left to Missouri, and Hood and others are left to counterattack. The ability of the little maid is definitely worthy of trust. Without the admiral in the office, there would be no one left in the office. Little Loli doesn't like playing here anymore, and people like Wichita, South Dakota, Richelieu, etc. rarely come over. There was no one in the office at this time. Lexington poured himself a cup of tea alone, then picked up the halva on the coffee table and put it into his mouth with a thoughtful expression. The admiral went to find Veneto, because of the happiness in his soul. If we can find everyone, we can run out less in the future, and we can stay quietly in the guardhouse and not go out at all. This is the best. The person who travels with her has a good reputation and is also called the head maid by everyone. It is versatile in housework and can solve any problem with ease. As a battle cruiser, it is more powerful than many battleships, eating less and doing much more. If I had to mention a weakness, I don't know if it is my life creed to become an excellent maid. From this point of view, there is no threat to me. After becoming a wedding ship, I only want to be the head maid, and I have no interest in the secretaryship. I have no interest in becoming a big lady or a big wife. After finishing the halva, Lexington took another sip of tea. He didn't know why he felt uneasy. Sister Lexington. Lexington saw Xiao Zai and Kong Xiang come in, waving her hands and sitting on the edge of the sofa. She asked, Xiao Zai, Kong Xiang, what's going on? When will the admiral come back? As the most considerate person in the world, Xiao Zai still misses her admiral. She can't wait. He promised to come back soon. Lexington comforted, don't be in a hurry, Zai, the admiral is delayed by something. Xian Xiang stood up from the sofa and said, adults always like to keep their words. After finally sending the little loli out of the office, Lexington suddenly thought of a possibility. As an outstanding maid, she always serves the admiral. It just so happens that they are outside together this time. The admiral and the maid will develop some kind of tacit understanding, and this tacit understanding will be brought back when they return to the garrison. As a secretaryship, I can only stay in the office and cannot follow the admiral as a matter of course as a maid, and then I am no longer the closest person to the admiral. This cannot be the case, and this situation must be avoided. You are allowed to have many wedding ships, but only yourself is the most important. Lexington was thinking about countermeasures and making plans. He wanted to practice a little yoga, and then put on his favorite uniform, so. Suddenly she saw the sneaky Saratoga showing its head at the door, and then quickly retracted. Gia, come in, what are you doing outside? Saratoga entered the office, her voice was sweet, and she said, Sister. Why are you poking your head? Nothing. Saratoga hesitated for a moment, then decided to speak after a long time, brother-in-law and reputation. Lexington smiled and said, what happened to them? Reputation, they will definitely do it, they will. Saratoga was quite dirty in front of Sugu, and she was quite dirty in front of Bazai, but she didn't dare to talk nonsense in front of her sister, and she always behaved like a good girl. What are they sure of? Lexington glanced at his sister lightly. Her long golden hair hung down to her waist, and her chest was bulging. She could be said to be very beautiful, after all, she was her sister. His temperament is cold and cold in front of outsiders, but in fact he is quirky and is supposedly very popular. He is his biggest enemy. I feel a little pitiful in my heart. At such a low level, no matter what the admiral and the wedding ship do, it is normal behavior. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 618. Plans have been made, and Sugu is still thinking about the next trip. There is no other way. There are still so many people waiting for him in the garrison. He has been delayed here for too long and cannot continue like this. Otherwise, traveling with a head maid with such a reputation would have nothing to do with her for the rest of her life. She is such a charming lady, and as the head maid, she never needs you to say anything, she will prepare everything for you. For example, when you get up in the morning, put the towels and the toothbrush with the toothpaste on them. After washing up, milk and bread are ready on the table. In short, there are many things to do. Suddenly I heard Shen Shen's voice, Master, let Sheng Sheng serve you tonight. Sugu looked back at the head maid. There was no shyness on her face and she was as calm as water. It seems to be saying a very common sentence, the words that I hear most often, such as Master, this is water, this is the snack that Renren just bought, the clothes are left for you by the bed and so on. As a wedding host, as a dashing maid, Sugu had never seen her shy before. When we first met, we were not familiar with each other, of course, only to myself, not to the reputation. He knew very well that in terms of reputation, he was an admiral with a favorable opinion of him. Anyway, reputation easily asked for help with back rubs and service. The head maid was really powerful. I really wanted to do it, but at that time I was still unfamiliar with reputation, so I refused. In fact, it should be said that it is cowardly. After all, the relationship is inseparable. If you want to get off the ship midway, your fate will probably be very miserable. This is the basis of everything and will never be tolerated. If you ever imagine saying the words to leave, you will definitely see the image of reputation pressing him to the ground with a big ship-mounted gun pressed against his head. Up to now, the two of them have been getting along for a long time, especially when they got off the cruise ship to look for Italian little Lolita. After traveling for many days, talking, walking around, eating, and receiving care every day, the relationship became very close. Especially these days when I stay in the same hotel, I often just put on some casual clothes after bathing and changing clothes before going to bed. The head maid couldn't do anything deliberately seductive, like intentionally unbuttoning 2 buttons of her shirt to reveal a deep ravine. The I shape is not the Y shape, and the head maid has a real figure. She didn't dress conservatively and covered herself up, acting like a normal couple, even though they slept in separate beds. Consultant Su, why did reputation think of this? Admiral and wedding ship, this is a normal thing, no reason is needed. It is very common to have already obtained the ring, and the reputation is just that it is easier to speak than everyone else. Reputation also looks at Sugu, master, admiral, husband, it doesn't really matter what he does or doesn't do. I lit a campfire while camping in the wild, sat next to it and ate, and then listened to the host singing. I loved it and felt very happy. There is nothing better than this. In the port city, the owner bought earrings for himself and helped him put them on. He also liked them, although he soon found it inconvenient to take them off. There is nothing shy about saying this, just because he understands what his master needs as an ordinary man. Think about it. Sheng Sheng smiled. Sugu opened his mouth to say something, but compared to the generosity and chicness of his reputation, he was really not that powerful. As for reputation, you have to agree with it. If you don't have any ideas, it's okay. After all, you are only in your 20s and you are still learning the essence. Occasionally, I even get horny and want to push him down. He just felt embarrassed to say it, so he said, "It's okay." "I know, master must have been enduring a lot of hardship," Sheng Sheng said. Sugu thought for a while, then lowered his head and said, "That's all right." Sugu hasn't made any move yet, but his reputation has already risen. She didn't show a joking smile and say anything. "In that case, let's forget it." She smiled and did not refute, but the meaning of that smile was very clear in Sugu's eyes. I knew everything the master was thinking. Having reached this point and having experienced so much, he was still not so passive. Sugu also stood up and stretched out his hands to embrace the reputation. After he took the initiative, reputation stopped moving. He hugged and kissed, and what happened next was nothing more than that. Men are all beasts. After a long time, the most intimate relationship happened, everything ended, and Sugu maintained his reputation. Feeling the plump ketone body in his arms, not long after, he heard a prestigious voice. "Master, let me go and let reputation clean up your body." In the past, no matter Lexington, Bismarck, or the Prince of Wales, they would hug each other and talk to each other after doing something. Sugu didn't expect reputation to say such words at all, but with the character of the head maid, it wasn't surprising that she would say such words. As an admiral, I have been there before, and I know very well what the ship girl likes. The lights were not turned off, but the lights in the hotel room were not very bright. Sugu said, "No, it feels like I have really become a master or a master, as if I am completely enjoying the service of a maid." "I was originally a maid." Shen Shen's voice was a little soft, but she could still hear her determination. "You can treat yourself as a maid, and I will treat you as a wedding ship and a wife." Sheng Sheng smiled and said nothing. After a pause, Sugu didn't know what to say. He said instead, "Clean up, or let's take a shower together." Went to the bathroom, had a good shower, enjoyed the prestigious service, and then had a good hum. After sleeping together at night, it is impossible to hug each other forever. Sugu woke up the next day and found that there was no one around him, and Sheng Sheng was preparing for various things as usual. When she woke Sugu up, it was just a normal nudge. There was no naughty wake-up call like Lexington occasionally pinching your nose, or a good morning kiss. The head maid's voice was still calm, making people suspect that what happened yesterday was just a sexual dream. However, Sugu remembered everything that happened clearly. How could there be such a real dream? Reputation doesn't like Nini Weiwei, and Sugu has never liked Kaianyao dramas, and then it becomes like the unfolding of the master and the maid. This kind of relationship actually made Sugu feel distressed, and it became like that sentence, only entering the body but not entering the life. Having said that, during the subsequent journey to find Veneto, due to the extremely close relationship, a lot of tacit understanding gradually developed. Just like in the restaurant, Sugu took the menu and glanced at it, the one from yesterday is better. What do you think of the reputation? Good. Suguming doesn't need to say anything, reputation can understand what it means. The tacit understanding is like that between a surgeon and a nurse. During the operation, the doctor only needs to reach out and do not much, and the nurse will hand over the necessary tools, such as scalpels, scissors, forceps, etc. There are still some differences. The steps of the surgery can only be the same, but people will suddenly change according to their minds. Even though I like mangoes, I won't eat them all the time. I will always ask for reputation, but I will basically get confirmation. In fact, if there is too much tacit understanding, it will make people feel uncomfortable. Occasionally, they will mention, "We just saw that little girl Dyson at the ship girl headquarters. She is so cute." The destroyer Dyson was historically leased to the Federal Republic of Germany after the war and was renamed Z5. She has long blonde hair and wears a coat outside a European-style dress. Showing her little fangs, she is quite energetic, and she is still an arrogant cat girl, especially her tail that swings back and forth. If the cat-teasing stick has unspeakable lethality on cats, then the little tail has almost the same effect on Sugu. Cats suck catnip, and as an admiral sucking little Lolita, it feels so evil. If master likes it, reputation may be able to help. Reputation always speaks volumes. I have ideas, but I just met her and I have ideas about little Lolita, and I feel that the impact is not good. Although I believe in the power of reputation, maybe it can be fished out. There are still tasks to do, so it's impossible to spend time at the ship girl's headquarters. Sugu said hypocritically, "I was just thinking about the Dyson, a member of the Little Beaver team, and Fletcher's sister. If you bring one back like this, she will probably be very happy, and then she will probably be very distressed. 3. Her younger sister has already made her so busy every day. Speaking of her, she will work very hard for her younger sister, so having another younger sister will definitely make her stronger. In the game, Fletcher only requires the player to have one more Fletcher-class destroyer, and all attributes will be increased by 1. If all Fletcher-class ships are installed and operations are not weakened, then she will really become a star destroyer. Although due to its durability, there may still be no way to compare with the world's #1 Lord Sook Bader, and crushing activities is trivial. Sheng Sheng could understand whether Sugu was sincere or hypocritical. She said, "Try it and bring all Fletcher's sisters back to the guardhouse." That's a lot: Obanon, Converse, Dyson, Claxton, Hillman, Hull, Johnston, too many to count, and then Potato Obanon. Okay, lucky ship, Naughty William will not consider it. I don't want the garrison to be suddenly blown up by a cannon. It doesn't matter how many more people you have, as long as you meet them and bring them back to the town guard house. Think well, nothing is that easy, and the main thing is hard to encounter. Another disadvantage of having too much tacit understanding is that I looked at which ship girl I was looking at. Looking back at reputation, although the head maid never said anything to Sugu, she always felt that reputation understood everything and felt guilty. In fact, at this point, there is no tacit understanding. Unless you are a little Lolita, no matter who is around you, you will be able to detect any action. This is a woman's natural intuition. In comparison, reputation doesn't say anything at all, and there are no strange looks in my eyes, which is pretty good. There are far more advantages than disadvantages. Compared to the original one, the rest of the journey was undoubtedly much happier. After all, I could have a beautiful woman in my arms every night. She has a prestigious figure and has a fleshy figure. I really like this one. Although in terms of fleshiness, she can't compare to Baizai, it's hard to think about Baizai. Although she is not fat, joking about her being fat would only make her fat. No matter what you say, the fat is all yours anyway. To say that breaking a jar is bad, it should be said that we already have a very close relationship, and anything else is just childish. Men have sex first and then love. Saying this is like being a hooligan. Sex and love are never one. It can be said that the accumulation of love is communication, not sex. Sex is only a catalyst and a stepping stone. After something happens, you become intimate, and you can be relatively free to say anything. Now we can hug each other at night and say things that were difficult to say before. Reputation, I always feel like you are completing your mission. Do you like your own words? If Master likes it, I will like it. Chen Chen's voice was calm. You say that, don't you like it? I like it. I feel happy when I can feel that the Admiral likes me. Sugu asked curiously, so you only like the physical body? Right. I like the perfect, all-powerful head maid, I like them all. Well, reputation will work hard. Speaking of which, do you still remember that you said you were going to show me the bunny girl costume, but then there was no movement? There are no such clothes. Unorthodox clothes like bunny outfits are not sold in ordinary places unless they are specially customized. The counterattack, Princeton, and Raiders are all thanks to the diva as a tailor. I was still thinking about you pretending to be a bunny girl. In Sugu's evil thoughts, as Missouri said, reputation will become very sexy and charming after wearing a bunny girl costume. The character of the head maid will subconsciously do things that suit her status no matter what clothes she wears. And then what happens, definitely at that time. But these days, Admiral and wedding are living together, so this is natural. Sheng Sheng said, if the master likes it, he can wear it after he returns. Okay, I still wanted to think deeply in my heart. I heard the counterattack said you let her wear it, how about it? As an older sister, she still cares about her younger sister, and she can also see the relationship between her master and her younger sister. No matter now, her younger sister knew her master better than she did before. It's cute, but when she puts on the bunny girl costume, her whole face becomes red and hot. Have you touched the face of the counterattack? Sugu remained silent for a moment, then changed the subject. Speaking of the first time you said you wanted to rub my back, I refused. If you hadn't refused that time, I guess it would have been difficult to control it at that time, the reputation was so tempting. Xiao Xiao, who was not wearing a maid uniform, had a bit of a venomous tongue and said, what you say is not what you mean. A bit thinking of the head maid's expression, Sugu was curious, Tianlong and Long Tian know psychology, do you know reputation? Do you hope so or not? It wouldn't be better. I feel afraid of being exposed to everything, but apart from the initial encounter, Tianlong and Long Tian who guard the mansion behave normally. Then I won't. Sugu said, your answer is really perfunctory. Still running around in various cities, enjoying prestigious services after busy work, wandering around and occasionally holding hands in leisure time. Of course, it was Sugu who took the initiative to gain reputation, otherwise the reputation of being a maid would not be shown in excess. Occasionally, you will encounter people who are relatively indifferent to visiting. Although they are understandable, they still want to complain, and reputation will respond. In short, the two of them became more and more understanding and intimate, and this trip felt like a honeymoon. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 619. Historically called the Strait of Gibraltar, it now has another name. As a narrow waterway connecting the Atlantic Ocean and the Mediterranean Sea, it originally had a very important strategic significance. However, due to the appearance of the deep-sea ship girl, this place seems not so important. After all, the ship's headquarters and admirals refused to participate in human wars. The expensive warships were easily sunk by the deep-sea ships, losing the meaning of their existence. Shipgirls and deep-sea shipgirls have promoted world peace to a certain extent. Of course, for the sake of resources, there will never be a shortage of wars. This is a story for another day. Deep-sea shipgirls will wake up on the sea, there are some in the Mediterranean and more in the Atlantic. In order to prevent deep-sea ship girls from entering the Mediterranean, many deep-sea ship girls can always be encountered here. Of course, there must be a garrison stationed at this throat, and not just one. No matter how much resources are spent on training, building, and salvaging ship girls will be affected by luck. Even if all the efforts of the country are put into it, luck itself is really a mysterious thing, which makes it difficult to deal with. African admirals can't get powerful ship girls even if they spend money, and mud can't hold up the wall. One garrison was stretched thin, and the ship's wife could only obey the command of the admiral, so several garrison houses could only be arranged together. Then the ship girl headquarters also arranged people here, and also arranged for powerful ship girls to be in charge. Suguhi Shengsheng visited the nearby Tutlari mansion and saw what a powerful Tutlari mansion should look like. Although it is not as strong as my own garrison, it is already very strong. There are many ship girls that I have never seen in the game before, such as Norfolk, Ajax, Z-46 and so on. We also saw the troubling battle cruiser Goban here, and we saw a lot of powerful battleships. Let Sugula unite the ship girls from several garrison houses that he has visited, and the deep-sea flagship can still be defeated. Although the combined fleet did not dare to enter the depths of the sea to challenge Bismarck and Tirpitz in the deep sea, the admirals of these garrison houses would show worried expressions when mentioning the newly emerged deep-sea flagships. Sacrifice is glorious, but no one wants to die. I also went to the nearby Kanyang headquarters, but there was still no news from Veneto, which was disappointing. There is no way, who would have thought that I was so ambitious? Well, to be precise, I was so lucky that I was forced to embark on a journey to find the Italian little Lolita on a whim. In short, this is the last stop, and it is still a complete failure. Even if there is no news, no progress, and you will be laughed at if you go back, you still have to return to the garrison. I still don't know what will happen if I go back. I don't know how Lexington will react, or whether my sister-in-law will explode on the spot. Standing on the high platform, Sugu tried his best to look at the sea in the distance. The view here was so good. Standing next to him, apart from her reputation, was another woman with long wavy golden hair. As a ship girl, she naturally has a great figure, but her personality is too boisterous. She is a woman from the battle cruiser King Kong, who claims to be a woman who has returned to study abroad. King Kong said, "Sorry, we don't know either. There is no news about Veneto." "You're welcome. Actually, I don't have high hopes." I really didn't have high hopes. After all, there was only metaphysics and no intelligence. "Where is your garrison?" "I'll let you know if I know." Ship girls can be said to be good people, but being good doesn't mean that they will enthusiastically help with everything they encounter. That's called being a good person. I have visited many places and met many ship girls. I am not their admiral, so I will not treat them specially. Full of enthusiasm, cold on the outside and hot on the inside, cold on the outside and cold on the inside, I met many people of all kinds. King Kong's long golden hair was blown by the sea breeze and she was very handsome in a windbreaker. She was a very enthusiastic person, but her funny personality was more unforgettable than her enthusiasm. No matter how enthusiastic you are, everyone is still a stranger, and there is no need to live in such a place. The main reason was that the deep-sea ship girl showed up during my visit, and reputation went to help. The two of them stayed here for a day and became a little familiar. King Kong is not the eldest sister here, and her funny personality makes it impossible for her to be a leader. He originally wanted to refuse, but the distance between the east and the west was too far. After thinking about it, Sugu still reported his address. "My garrison is in the very far east. In case, who knows what will happen, we cannot let go of any possibility." After saying this, he casually invited him to come to his guardhouse if he had the opportunity. King Kong nodded enthusiastically. After all, it was just a small episode during the journey. After breakfast here, Sugu still left with his reputation. The two of them talked to each other on the way. Sugu said, "I already knew it would be difficult." Reputation smiled and said, "At first, Master, you thought it was possible to meet Veneto. I was just talking. Well, it's all Hude's fault. She started talking about traveling with me, which led to the next topic." This sentence was just said casually, and naturally there was no intention to blame Hude. It's the best you can find. It doesn't matter if you can't find it. You'll just go back a few days later. It's just that next time you encounter this situation, you can't just mention words like fate, bond, and connection. The clues are the most important. Sugu said, "Speaking of which, is it really possible for Veneto to come to the town hall? Let's think about it. I have a feeling that they just mentioned me when they returned to the town hall. Isn't this just a connection?" Reputation looked at Sugu. Her master always had many fantastic ideas, and she also felt a little helpless. "Although I believe in metaphysics, I never take these into account when I do anything. I believe more in data, intelligence, market research, etc." But since the master liked it, she responded with a few words, and then Sugu lost interest. Reputation, come forward and get more. Taking a slightly longer step, Sheng Sheng walked to Sugu's side and asked, "What's the matter? My heart is a little tired, let me hug you." As a maid, Reputation will not refuse the master's request, although I don't know if she is slandering her deep in her heart. Until Sugu let go of her and said, "I feel like the master is like a child sometimes. Men are always children." Reputation showed a warm smile. Taking a deep breath and thinking about the town hall, Sugu said, "Whether we find Veneto or not, we have to go back, otherwise it will be bad. It's time to go back." Sugu was worried, but he couldn't see any worries at all. If you want to return to the garrison in the east, not every city has a cruise ship in the past. Sugu didn't know much about the situation nearby, but he was somewhat certain that the port city where the ship was initially disembarked was located on the only route from the west to the east. Ships from various cities going to Chuangzhou and Fujian cities would dock there for repairs. After a few days, they returned to their original port city again. Carrying his luggage, he set foot on a relatively familiar land. Looking around, he saw the tall clock tower and the bustling city again. Sugu felt a little emotional. "We're back again." Reputation never responded to such meaningless sentiments. She just patted her apron. "There are no cruise ships to go back to at the moment, so we have to wait for several days." While looking for a hotel, Sugu said, "Prestige, prestige. Prestige, prestige. Sugu shouted twice, looking at the reputation of obeying his words. He thought of Saratoga. Although she likes her sister the most, she also likes Black Lexington. "Brother-in-law, you should be careful not to be deceived by her sister's appearance. She knows everything about you and dreams of having you in her hands. My sister-in-law also drew a painting for this purpose. It was quite a magical painting, and the painting was also quite ugly. A stick figure representing Sugu was running on the earth, and the Lexington Demon King with a sinister smile opened his hands. The whole earth is covered." Of course Sugu didn't believe this. Such a gentle Lexington didn't complain at all about having a harem for him, and even wanted to marry Yuxian for him. How could this happen? If it is true, then you can use your reputation to compete with Lexington. As a leader, you cannot let any one family dominate. Regardless of that, let's use his reputation to coerce Lexington into doing something he usually doesn't want to do. Thinking about it, I feel like he has become a very bad admiral. But compared to these, Sugu thought that the reason why he hadn't returned to the garrison for so long was probably because he had been taught a lesson by Lexington. The wife will not lecture people with her hands on her hips, but she only needs to show an aggrieved expression to make people unbearable immediately. Even if you know it, you can't change it. You have a character that accepts soft things rather than hard things, and you will never feel aggrieved. We found a hotel, put down our things, and had a good rest for the whole day. I have absolutely no idea about Veneto and Italian little Lolita. There is a mission, which is to choose gifts for everyone in the garrison. Although people don't really care about gifts, they can't help but care about them. Before that, Sugu needed to count the ship girls in his garrison. By the end of the count, he was almost confused and could only use a pen to write down everyone. To be honest, it's hard to buy gifts, even though you don't need to travel everywhere and you can bring more luggage. However, with so many people's gifts, apart from buying small pieces of handicrafts or jewelry, it's really difficult. Swiss Army knife, no, give Bismarck the multifunctional army knife. Bismarck liked these, even if he didn't use them, he still liked to collect them, but these were the only ones that would not be taken away by the small house. Prince of Wales, please bring her a bottle of red wine, you can choose the prestige, otherwise, if you leave it to me, I will only choose the expensive one. I bought gifts for the Prince of Wales and complained to her several times. Although I heard the Prince of Wales talk about it, I didn't pay attention to it at the time and was focused on other things. No matter, Sigsby gave her a hairband, one with cat ears. When I saw a headband on the roadside, I immediately thought of a leprechaun. I just want to run here and there all day long, or else I'll help her buy shoes. Think about it, that doesn't sound like much. It took a lot of effort to buy the gift, but in the end it was left to Reputation. While walking, listen to Reputation explain everyone's hobbies and the significance of giving each person a gift, so that everyone can explain their reasons when asked. It feels like it's not my intention at all. I'm cheating, Sugu was thinking. As a ship girl, no one cares too much about whether the gift is expensive or not. What matters is the thought. Reputation said, yes, your thoughts are the most important, even if the gift is just a small candy. Think about it, I can only give you my thoughts, and you will choose a gift that everyone likes. We can just choose together. You are too tired. In the end, the two of them chose the gift together. Gifts must be prepared to avoid complaints when returning to the townhouse, especially from little Loli. After all, they were originally promised to go back soon, but now it seems that it will be almost summer when they go back. Before they could leave, Sugu and Sheng Sheng stood by the railing beside the pier that day, with mottled tree shadows covering the two of them. It's not convenient to buy a big boat, and it's not convenient to not have a boat. Next time we come here, we will go out on a yacht. The Prince of Wales's yacht is quite big, and it can go a long way with one supply. I want to cross the Pacific Ocean more, but it doesn't matter if we drive along the coast to the west. It's just that, we had an experience before, the space on the yacht is too small and narrow, and nothing can be done well. Reputation. Speaking of which, you ship girls all rely on the power of ship uniforms. It would be great if we humans could also wear ship uniforms and gain power like you. If you can't hold a magic wand, it's better to hold a medal. The pattern on the medal is the USS Lexington. When you press it on the medal, the light will light up. Then you will immediately put on the Lexington uniform, possessing unparalleled power. Sugu thought that as a dignified time traveler, he didn't even have a powerful golden finger, which was a bit bad. Then he thought that his golden finger was quite big, and he had such a powerful garrison. It feels like the system is issuing tasks. The tasks need to find everyone one by one, and then everyone will be rewarded by the system. So currently, finding Veneto is a difficult task issued by the system. As long as you clear the level, you will be rewarded greatly. Legal Loli Veneto, Ellie's daughter Andrea, plus a large group of cute Italian destroyers. Speaking of the many people in the town hall, some people need to be searched for. Some people heard the news about the town hall and returned to the town hall on their own. We have also collected a lot of information ourselves. I have also traveled to many places and encountered I have been to many people who are not from our garrison. Without any information, I just relied on my feelings. This is the only time for Veneto. Sugu paused and complained, I can't find her like this. I really want to hack her. Reputation said, Veneto, are you too dark? It seems there are quite a few. Sugu chuckled and wanted to continue blacking out. No matter what the owner does, he will always help clean up the mess. However, Reputation will not be involved in things like this. When you have this time, why not think about how to improve yourself? Sheng Sheng said, I'm going to buy a drink. Go ahead. Reputation knows what to buy, no special instructions. With his reputation gone, Sugu was bored and looked at the seagulls circling in the sky, at the sailboats leaving white waves on the sea not far away, and at the tourists walking out of the pier. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Looking for the Lost Ship Girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 620. The shells on the table that I picked up at the beach were beating because the whole room was shaking, and they were about to fall to the ground. The child sitting on the bed heard the explosion outside. He huddled in the corner holding the quilt in fear. He is not old and has never read a book. The main reason is that there is no school in the village. The nearest school is in a small town far away, and it takes a lot of time to go back and forth. His future was destined at birth. When he grows up, he will become a fisherman like his father and fight the sea. However, he is really not a man at the moment. This is a village by the sea. The village's livelihood is fishing. He has long been accustomed to waves and strong winds, but this time it is completely different. The house was shaking and looked like it would fall down at any time. The sound of explosions came continuously from the windows. This was the manifestation of the deep-sea ship girls attacking the village. In another room in the house, the husband with a weather-beaten face and a burly body had already lifted the quilt and climbed out of bed. He wanted to turn on the light, but the light did not come on. They're here again, endlessly. I've told you before, let's get out of here. This was my wife's voice again. It's not that easy. We were born and raised here. What else can we do besides fishing? I want to see our boat. I'll tie it to the dock with the rope when I come back in the afternoon. The wife quickly said, No, absolutely not, it's too dangerous there. You can do it again if the boat is gone. Only go to the beach if you want to die. The house shook. The husband held onto the table and looked in the direction of the sound. He said, I don't know which house next to us was bombed. If the ship is destroyed, there will be no way to go to sea for a while. Drink the northwest wind. A long sigh. May God keep everyone safe and sound. I wish the ship girl would come here earlier to suppress the deep-sea ship girl. You go to the cellar first. The husband looked at his wife who was sitting up on the bed and pushed the door open. Tell him to hurry up. The wife groped towards the cellar in the dark. As for him, she meant the child. I have said it many times before when I hear an explosion and run to the cellar. However, when encountering this situation, the child still feels scared and becomes overwhelmed. Suddenly he plucked up the courage, and instead of getting out of bed and walking to the cellar, he moved on the bed holding the quilt. Soon he approached the window and saw the occasional firelight outside. The village is built on the seaside, with a very obvious slope. It is built on the slope. Usually, I like to open her arms with my friends along the slope, and while imitating the train to make the sound of doo-doo and dang dang dang, I trot all the way from the doorstep to the pier. The view was poor, only firelight and moonlight. The child was observing what happened to his best friend's house and whether it was destroyed by gunfire. The bright and lively little girl is his good friend and the object of his admiration. Suddenly there was a squeaking sound from the door, and he was startled and looked over quickly. Don't be afraid, artillery fire can't hit us here. The child plucked up the courage and said, Dad, I want to go out and have a look. We're going to the cellar. The husband first comforted his child and was about to take the child away. When he heard what his child said, he showed a dangerous look. As an ordinary fisherman with little education, if the child disobeys, he will be beaten. Finally, the child touched his forehead with one hand, and the husband held the child's hand. Crossing the threshold of the room, sadness arose in the husband's heart at the thought of seeing many homeless villagers tomorrow. Damn deep-sea ship girl. In fact, there are not many attacks from deep-sea ship girls, but every time they appear, it makes people feel scared. Some people say that Poseidon is angry, and the village is preparing to build a temple for Poseidon during this period. However, he has always believed that instead of building an ancestral hall, it is better to give the money to the nearby garrison or the ship girl headquarters or something, hoping to take more care of this place. In the distant sky at night, a ray of fire was clearly visible across the sky. As the village got closer and closer, the sound of explosions came from a distance, and then another series of fires were seen streaking across the sky. We're late. It seems to be 2 deep-sea destroyers. The enemy has found the target. They don't seem to have noticed us, good chance. The little Lolita with long red hair looked the biggest and had the best figure. She could even be called a girl. As the flagship, she gave the order, we attack the nearest deep-sea destroyer. Aviel, which one is closer? Guy when asked, the blonde girl is the sister of the red-haired girl. She was just teasing her sister. She had already adjusted her outfit. Fool. The blonde girl retorted, Antonio, no underwear. Okay, stop arguing, get ready dash. 1, 2, 3, this is the voice of the little blonde Lolita. At the same time, another voice sounded, 3, 2, 1. Antonio, you are so annoying. You are. Sister, Antonio, Ugolini, launched. He the charming voice came from Ugolini. We're charging protection fees. By the moonlight, you can see 4 little Lolita sailing. They are Aviel, Camicia, Antonio, and Ugolini. Their attack is ready. Generally speaking, in battles with deep-sea ship girls, humans are mostly in passive defense. After all, they are the victims. Most of those who were attacked were innocent fishing villages, seaside cities, or passing ships. Later, it was the ship girls' turn to suppress them, and they often had the initiative in the battlefield. Chivalry has nothing to say to the deep-sea ship girl who only knows killing. She sails quietly on the sea and attacks the enemy without saying a word to the enemy in advance. We are going to start attacking. Staring at the dim identity of the enemy under the moonlight, the torpedo tubes were located on the wings, waist, and thighs. The 4 little Lolita finally reached an agreement and quietly launched the torpedoes one after another. The small torpedo penetrated into the water, and the propeller at the tail continued to rotate. When the bubbles floated from the water to the surface, the torpedo headed towards the enemy at super high speed. Compared with the torpedoes used on human warships in the past, the torpedoes of the ship girl are undoubtedly much smaller. However, compared to the torpedo with hundreds of kilograms of charge, the torpedo of the ship girl is not inferior in power. It is a fantasy weapon. The 2 deep-sea destroyers were still standing on the sea and bombarding the villages on the seaside. Although their gunfire was much inferior to that of the deep-sea battleships. However, in the face of human beings who have no resistance, the artillery fire falling from the sky is still extremely powerful, and death comes from the sky. Several rows of torpedo gods under the sea surface unknowingly approached the deep-sea ship, and then an explosion sounded, and the torpedo hit the target. One of the deep-sea destroyers was unprepared. Its steel fins were hit by torpedoes, and then began to explode. She suddenly let out a meaningless hoarse cry that echoed on the sea surface. The steel ship was swinging on the sea, but it didn't help. It was just lucky that it hadn't sunk yet. It's completely destroyed, just need to hit it again. The deep-sea destroyer, which was not under attack, immediately discovered the enemy's presence, and then torpedoes were fired from her body. Everyone would not stop in place, regardless of whether the other party could see it. They waved to the enemy constantly, and then ran 2 steps on the sea. Their sailing feet were like skates gliding on the ice. They immediately started sailing. Get up, leaving waves behind you. Here, come to us, come and chase us. Shipgirls and deep-sea shipgirls are naturally hostile. In fact, there is no need for them to ridicule them at all. Deep-sea shipgirls without any intelligence will instinctively move towards them. Everyone moved forward close to the seaside. As shipgirls, there was no way to talk about displacement or draft, so of course they would not be stranded. They were running around everywhere. After dodging several enemy torpedoes and letting them wash up on the beach, they made a big circle. Because it is on the vast sea, there is no commendable drift like drag racing. Speed up, slow down, turn or launch torpedoes as time passes. What follows is a long period of chasing each other, and there is really not much excitement between the destroyers attacking each other. The enemy is very weak and there is no need to wait until the eldest sister is killed, they thought in their hearts. The most slutty of the 4 little girls, the little girl who inherited the soul of the destroyer Carmichael, fired 2 torpedoes in a ballet-like spin on the sea. Destroyers don't like to be like those battleships. In order to save resources, they don't bombard but instead engage in close combat. Torpedoes are the most attractive thing that destroyers have. The deep-sea destroyer was too weak and lacked combat intuition, so it was directly hit head-on by Kamichia's torpedoes, followed by 2 more torpedoes from Antonio. The ship's armor was badly damaged after being hit by 2 torpedoes in a row. Although she struggled and twisted on the surface of the sea, there was no way to stop her slowly sinking to the bottom of the sea. Kamichia put her hands on her hips and laughed, "Ha, it's going to sink, the result of my battle." "Obviously mine," Antonio said. Ugolini smiled and said, "I also have results." "Beijing Feng, what did you do? You actually secretly finished it?" "Anyway, I got the result." Ugolini's voice was sweet. "Beijing style, slutty bitches." Kamichia was hung up and spanked after secretly kissing her eldest sister's head. "You flat-chested guy. You're flat-chested too. My sister has breasts." Ugolini rubbed his hands, "I've touched it, it's big and soft." Aviel showed a shy expression until Kamichia rubbed her breasts hard, and she crossed her arms with a look of aggrievedness. "Shall we go ashore? I've never been here." They finally landed at the pier of the seaside village and walked along the path into the village. At this time, I was standing next to the fence of a house, which was relatively close to the coast. Due to the attack of artillery fire, it was already crumbling, and then there was the sound of heavy objects falling. Boom! The crossbar of the beam fell down, and Kamichia actually saw it. She was stunned and didn't think of hiding away, but just held her head in her hands with some fear. After all, Xingxing is just a little girl, and she was completely stunned. The heavy crossbar hit Kamichia's head with bricks and tiles. If she were an ordinary person, she would not be able to stand up after being hit. However, it was completely fine if she was hit on the head, except for being disgraced. Her temperament and appearance are that of a little girl, but her physical fitness is equivalent to that of those steel battleships. If wood hits steel, the steel will certainly not be injured. Pot, 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 it hurts, oh. Kamichia rubbed her buzzing ears, then pushed away the crossbar and bricks. She stepped on the broken tiles and crawled out of the ruins of the house, thinking that the enemy had one more crime to commit. No one came out. Antonio said, "How are we going to collect protection money?" "Knock on doors. The protection fee is 5 cakes. I want wave candy." "I'm great, please give me candy." Sister, this is just a small village, there is no candy. Camicia suddenly shouted, Antonio, what are you doing? What are you doing with a fish? Wearing a pair of ponytails, a small round hat with a bow, and big, round eyes, Antonio held the tail of a big fish and tilted his head in confusion. Meow, meow, meow. Does it look like a dead admiral? The pink-haired little Loliogolani squatted on the ground. She reached out and poked the dead fish. Like they all laughed. The artillery fire has stopped, but the villagers hiding in the cellar still dare not go out, just in case. They missed it and failed to see the four cute little Lolita under the moonlight, like angels. We have to wait here for the eldest sister. Sister, can I tell you a story? Good. One night, when the moon was full, a little girl walked alone on a dark street. She found warm lights on both sides of the street and looked through the window. The room was filled with happiness, but this happiness did not a little bit belongs to the little girl. Chirping, chirping, the chirping of crickets sounded at night, and the lonely little girl walked alone on the dark path, and the sound of running water on the path. It was a street just now, why did it become a path again? Antonio, don't talk too much. Oh, let's take the fish home. Camicia continued, are you alone here? The little girl suddenly heard a voice. The little girl raised her head and found that the speaker was a long-haired elder sister. Yes. The little girl answered like this. You are the only one, are you human? Do you want some candy? The eldest sister took out a lollipop from her pocket. It's an angel, the little girl thought. She stretched out her hands to take the candy and ate it happily. Suddenly a faint voice rang, you eat my candy and now you are mine. It's so boring, Antonio said, thinking that it wasn't scary at all. Camicia hugged Aviel tightly and laughed, you ate my candy, you are mine, my Camician woman. I didn't eat your candy. I gave you a piece of butterscotch half a year ago. Forgotten. Speaking of which, we just forgot to say, I drove this road and planted this tree. I want to pass by here and leave money to buy the road. I forgot to bring my sunglasses. Sister, it's night now. Camicia suddenly stood up and waved in the distance, ha, look over there, the eldest sister is coming over. We're here. He made his hands look like trumpets. Looking for the lost ship girl. Author, Hai De Rong Yan. Chapter 621. There is a natural hatred between ship girls and deep-sea ship girls. As long as a ship girl appears in front of her, even if there are many targets that can be attacked, deep-sea ship girls will definitely choose the ship girl first. Except for deep-sea flagships, ordinary deep-sea ship girls have no intelligence, only beast-like intuition. The ship girl has wisdom and the enemy is too powerful, so she cannot do such a thing as seek death. In the absence of any interests related to the situation, the girl who discovered the deep-sea ship would not simply stand by and watch. Of course, he is wise at least, and will consider a lot before making a decision, and will not rush in so casually. A ship girl who already has an admiral will follow the admiral's will and leave her personal thoughts behind. A small number of wandering ship girls who live in society choose to integrate into society anonymously. The vast majority of ship girls like the sea, due to their natural hostility to deep-sea flagships, the tireless propaganda from the human government, and of course the favorable conditions. They will choose to join the academy to become instructors, or else become ship girl mercenaries, ship guards, etc. Joining the ship girl headquarters to work hard to protect ship girls and eliminate deep-sea ship girls is the best choice. Colorado, who has short blonde hair, joined the kanji headquarters many years ago. After many years of hard work, she finally became the leader of the local kanji branch. As a battleship, although it has a low speed, it is also a member of Big Seven and has good strength. In most cases, the strongest person in the ship girl branch is often the leader or eldest sister, but there are also many surprises. Colorado felt a little melancholy. She knew very well that she was not the strongest in this division, and she barely ranked third. The main reason is that the Kanjishi branch welcomed many little Lolita in the early years, especially Veneto among them. Possessing strong strength, she is the well-deserved strongest person in the entire ship girl division. As much as I hate to admit it, the opponent can beat two of me without much difficulty. The high-speed battleship Veneto does have this proud capital. Let's talk about history first. As the first ship of Italy's new battleships, its comprehensive performance and combat power are far better than those of its old battleships. The high speed, heavy tonnage, and excellent firepower make it the strongest battleship in Europe, much stronger than the George V class, slightly stronger than the Richelieu class, and only slightly weaker than the South Dakota and Iowa classes. As for the Veneto he saw, not to mention his parameters, he also had super high training and excellent equipment, and could easily destroy deep-sea battleships. I tried the drill, but I had no ability to resist at all. Thinking of Veneto, Colorado looked to the side. Veneto was there. In addition, the long blonde hair is divided into two bunches and tied with a bow at the ends. Strictly speaking, it is considered a double ponytail. Nicknamed Little Angel, the destroyer Carmichael is nearby. She was one of the many little lolis brought over by Veneto. She loved Veneto to the point of going crazy. She kept talking about being a big sister and treating herself as a leader like nothing. "Sister, I brought you breakfast." "Oh, thank you Kamichia. I like the eldest sister the most, hee hee." However, Colorado saw it, and she saw that Veneto's face was as dark as water, and his expression became majestic. "Carmichia, what is the breakfast you brought me?" Kamichia showed an innocent expression. "Bread and milk, children's meal." "I'm not a child. I remember telling you, just try it again." "Bread doesn't matter. I want coffee." Colorado knows very well that Veneto comes with its own Italian cutlery set, which is why he loves coffee. You can drink coffee when you are in a good mood, you can drink coffee when you are in a bad mood, you can drink coffee in the morning, noon, and evening. It is definitely not because coffee belongs to adults and milk belongs to children. Drinking coffee intentionally expresses yourself and behaves differently. Colorado saw Kamichia squatting on the ground again. She looked under the dining table and saw Veneto sitting on a high chair with his legs crossed, but his legs could not reach the ground. So she quickly withdrew her gaze, not daring to look. Curiosity often leads to destruction. This is an unbreakable truth. "Sister, it's good to drink milk. Drinking milk can make you grow taller." Kamichia's voice. Veneto said nothing, as if he didn't hear anything. But Colorado was still keenly aware that Veneto's little hands were on the table, clenching his fists tightly, as if he was desperately suppressing his anger. "You can guess what's going on in your mind, you can't argue with a little girl. I'm a mature, sexy, majestic elder sister. Kamichia, I don't need milk, bring me some coffee." "Okay, I'll get papaya milk. I remember you like it very much and drink it secretly every day." "I haven't had any. I want coffee." Colorado's heart was already lifted. She saw that Veneto had clenched his teeth and giggled, but he was still suppressing it and not bursting out. It's certain that the big firecracker is about to explode just a little bit away. As for the consequences of the explosion, the entire canteen will probably be blown up. There will be no possibility of survival and everything will be reduced to rubble. Colorado thought to himself that as a battleship, most of them had mature and sexy figures, but Veneto was different, only having a lowly figure. This made Veneto very unhappy, but he could still bear it. Dragons have reverse scales. There is one thing you must not mention. If you mention it, it will most likely explode. That is the breasts. As a kind of idealistic life, a ship girl will gradually develop wrinkles on her face when she feels that she is getting old. In fact, this is not bad. In the minds of ordinary people, ship girls will not grow old easily. Others give them confidence, and ship girls often believe so. Even those ship girls who have lived for many years are still as beautiful as flowers and youthful. Veneto, in anyone's opinion, Veneto must be a little lowly, with a barren figure that will not change no matter how much she grows. Because of this, Veneto has inner demons. Even if you don't admit it in your mouth and think that you can grow, your breasts will grow. In fact, for Veneto, he firmly believed that there was no possibility for him and that he could not grow. Even if you rub your breasts every night, eat pig's feet, and drink papaya milk, there won't be any changes in your breasts. Colorado looked at the destroyer Aviel not far away. She was obviously still a little Lolita, and her breasts were bigger than many others, although not as good as her own. She usually likes to worry about why her breasts are so big. If she is allowed to rub her breasts, eat pig's feet, and drink papaya milk every day, it will not take long before her breasts will grow another cup size. Because I believe it, I even worry that my breasts are growing every day. At this moment, noticing that Veneto was about to explode, Colorado thought for a while and decided to smooth things over, such as changing the topic or something. I love yogurt, Colorado said. I just like coffee. Colorado saw Veneto's cold eyes, and she decided not to dwell on this issue. She then remembered that someone had an orange cat here. When Veneto first came here, he always liked the orange cat and petted it every day. Later, I asked the owner of the orange cat if this cat was too naughty and could he calm down so that he would not move even if he was held in his arms or placed anywhere. Of course the owner of the orange cat shook his head and said, "Cats are very naughty." Then Veneto argued that his friend had an orange cat named Ginger, which would not move no matter how much he was touched, and liked to curl up in a ball. Later, I saw that Veneto bought a black cat and kept it for a long time. It was still very naughty. Now he doesn't care about it very much. The black cat still runs around in the yard every day. Colorado said, "Veneto, I saw your cat lying on the wall this morning. It's so cute and so fat. If you want it, take it. I can't take away from others." He. It was obvious that Veneto didn't like being in it at all from his scornful attitude. Maybe the black cat was just too naughty. Think again, what does Veneto like? I take great care of the Italian little loli that I brought with me. Even though we have become able to take charge of our own affairs and many tasks can be handed over to them with confidence, we are still worried and will follow behind. However, those little Lolita are difficult to deal with. They like to dress up as gangsters and call them boss, eldest sister, etc. She especially likes to wear small suits and sunglasses, which makes people feel funny. Now it can be regarded as the business card of the ship girl branch that I lead. However, the ship girl branch that I am in is relatively remote and has little communication with the outside world. Otherwise, it will probably become a starship girl branch in minutes. Colorado said, "They went on a mission last night and successfully eliminated the enemy." Mentioning this, Veneto showed a gentle smile, and everyone became stronger. She nodded, "It's okay." Destroyer Kamichi raised his hands high, "I am the best. I won the victory and the MVP." Colorado looked at Kamichi and smiled, "Yes, you are so powerful." Hey, little Lolita likes to praise. Colorado said, "Veneto, you followed them there in the middle of the night. I really can't worry about them." Veneto's smile faded, and she forgot that there was only milk on her plate, not coffee. She picked up the milk and took a sip. She felt it was much better than papaya milk. She said, "I'm just worried that the information is wrong, and I'm afraid that a powerful deep-sea flagship will appear. I don't like them." Kamichi suddenly hugged Veneto's waist and said with a smile, "My eldest sister hurts us the most. We want to fight for our eldest sister, it's such a big empire." Veneto sneered, "You are still far away from conquering the country." Accompanied by the sounds of H-A, O, and Ah, Kamichi stood on the ground and punched, saying, "We will become stronger and defeat all those who disobey my eldest sister. Defeat the Prince of Wales. Defeat Fuzu. Defeat Helena. Defeat the lion. Colorado won't defeat him for now, otherwise he will be pinched." Colorado didn't know why, so she asked, "Does the little angel know so many people?" Former companions Veneto said this with neither sadness nor joy in his expression. He was not a sister he missed so much. At the same time, they had a good fight on the ground and practiced their boxing. Although it was only funny in it, Kamichia liked to be funny the most. In the end, she clasped her fists and said, "Am I very powerful?" Veneto said nothing. Colorado smiled and put a piece of bacon into his mouth and said, "It's amazing." Kamichia lay on Veneto's lap. Veneto pushed him away in disgust. Kamichia was not angry, she said, "but we didn't receive the protection money yesterday." Asking people directly for protection money is not allowed, and it is not a gangster. However, the little loli only collects some cakes and candies, and keeps saying that she will also give money after collecting protection fees. This is a small matter, and she shouldn't be so fussy about it. If someone gives you an expensive gift, they will refuse it. Colorado touched the little angel's head and said with a smile, "The little angel defeated the deep-sea ship girl and won the MVP. No reward has been given yet." Veneto snorted, and she said, "Colorado, don't spoil them. It's natural to eat and drink here every day and do things. Why should we reward them? The little angel is so cute." Colorado thought for a moment. "How about chocolate?" Kamichia also calculates, "I don't want to eat chocolate." "Then what do you want?" "I want to go out to play. I want my eldest sister to go out with us. I want snacks, candies, and new clothes." Veneto gently pushed Kamichia away from him and said with a straight face, "You just went there last time." Kamichia pushed Veneto and said, "Obviously I haven't been there for a long time." "Went last week." Veneto was unmoved. "That's the county seat. I want to go to a big city, a park, a zoo, an amusement park." The Kanyang branch was established in a remote suburb of a small city. The nearby big city was only a port city not too far away, and it would take several hours to sail there. Obviously, that port city is undoubtedly much more prosperous than the nearby small county towns. You can buy anything you want, and there are many things to play, which is very attractive. Colorado said, "Veneto, go ahead, you make so much money just for spending it. Everyone still gets paid." Veneto shook his head and said, "They can go if they want to, but I won't go. Even the destroyers don't need to worry. No one can be detrimental to them. They can still survive even if they have bad ideas. It's heinous to attack the destroyer, just wait for the Italian cannon." However, Kamichia shook her head, "No, sister-in-law, you also want to go. If you don't go, we won't go either." Veneto shook his head, "I can't play with your destroyers. No, eldest sister, I can't do it without you. We want you to go out with us." Kamichia was on the verge of tears. Colorado said, "Otherwise, I'll go too. I just want to buy clothes. You can't play with the destroyers, so I'll take them." Veneto looked at Colorado calmly. He was tall and had big breasts. He was at the level of a monster, and he even puffed out his chest. Although it is still not as good as the Colorado I know, the terrifying Grand Canyon. She paused for a moment, her expression unchanged, and said, "I won't bother you, Colorado, there are still many things to do. They just went out to attack. As a reward, I'll take them there." He slowly turned his head away and gritted his teeth.